afternoon. Gina. What's your story, man?
Chilling.
I thought let's see how far I get. I wrote a verse to one of your joints. It's totally not finished, but I'll see how far I get. What's up, G? Welcome to the live. And this is where we get it so hard and popping with beats, rhymes. I didn't bring my full bag of rhymes with me, but I did manage to bring 2 notebooks that will explain today's session. And so here we are. Let's see what we actually get. This is what I'm saying. Let's get this album started. Hit that beat! Don't you fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Keep your head up. Never let up. Never let them get you fed up. You just step up. Get your rep up. Get your cash up. Get your check up. The whole system's a setup. It's time we really get up. We've been about this revolution from the time we met up. Take it back, I got my fists up. Malcolm X in 88, but revolution only works for those that will participate. You are great, they are fake. Yo, it's time to demonstrate higher level mental states. Conscious people congregate. Show the love, not the hate. This is basic, no debate. But these people are debating and they hating. They should wait. It was bickering amongst ourselves and got us in this state. Yeah, the truth is inconvenient, but the truth is never late. You can't see what they be doing, how they thinking, how they moving. You can't see what they pursuing, making claims none are proven. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. We can see who is the enemy. Sovereignty's the remedy. You don't need telepathy, it's white supremacy. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Bringing the raw, doing it tall. Government officials breaking the law. You never see what you never saw. 303, open the door. Knowledge reigns. That is the game. Ignorance, that is insane. Don't fall for it. The reps and the Dems are the same. This one's shooting us up. That one's locking us up. This one got us stuck. That one's out of luck. You can front if you need to. The cycle never ends. No justice, but in 4 years they hyping us again. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. If you thinking and you earning and you drinking and you burning and you really not concerning with the news and what they learning, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. If you love it, never hate it, you agree it, don't debate it. HBCU educated, your degree is highly rated. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Don't fall for it. Yo, me, I'm not a fake dude. I'ma keep it real. They see through it all that America needs a heel deal. America ain't really sick. This is what it really is. Gunshots and cages for black and brown little kids. Now they acting like they not the cause of how we live. Do not tell me what you gonna do. I can see what you did. Look at her. Look at him. Look at them. Look at me. Do you see our interests represented in society? No, you don't. And you won't. Cause democracy's a joke. Every 4 years, these same people asking us to vote. Nothing changed but the Range Rover switching lanes over. I remain the flamethrower. Knowledge trains game over. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Rodney King, George Floyd, man, we all saw it. So don't protest with the fines, but don't move with self-reliance. While the soul is being silenced for the religion of science. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. If you thinking and you earning and you drinking and you burning and you really not concerned with the losing what they learning. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. There's no justice in the courts. We are always taking shorts. They can shoot us like a sport, and it's our trust that they want. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Don't fall for it. Don't you fall for it. Take it up. Don't you fall for it.
Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. We want black power. 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 That's right. That's what we want. Black power. We don't have to be ashamed of it.
This is not a regular. This is that boom bap bap bap. Some they call it secular. I just call it black black black. Marcus Garvey, Bookman, Dottie, bring that army back back back. Malcolm X and Kwame Ture. This is where I'm at. If you wanna talk to me about black, black, black. Haile Selassie the first, Negus Nagas. Let's talk about that. Kaboom, Nanny Maroon and all the Maroons. Let's talk about that. The real Underground Railroad, the first subway for black, black, black. The freedom train begins with your brain getting on track. Whether justice or injustice, how do you react? Can you stand there laughing while they shoot us in the black, black, black? This is what some rappers sound like every time they rap. I'm raising up the red and the green and the black, black, black. Even with no cops in the hood, we still hear click, click, clack, clack, clack. I cannot forget my ancestors just because I rap. Look at me from top to bottom. KRS is black, black, black. Get up, get out, speak up, speak out, reach out. This is what black about. Get up, get out, speak up, speak out, reach out. This is what I rap about. Get up, get out, speak up, speak out, reach out. Too many selling out. Get up, get out, reach out, lift up, yes out. Time to ask the question now. Are you really black, black, black? It is not a mystery. We under attack. If you're chatting fuckery, you whole our people black. Time to put aside the fantasy and deal with fact. This is not the time to be talking all that crap. Those that talk that crap, or those that don't fight back. You can say what you like, but real skill I never lack. Black is more a consciousness, the way you think and act. Yeah. Get up, get out, speak up, speak out, reach out. This is what black about. Get up, get out, speak up, speak out, reach out. This is what I rap about. Get up, get out, speak up, speak out, reach out. Too many selling out. Get up, get out, reach out, lift out, get out. Nice.
We have stayed here and we begged the president, we begged the federal government. That's all we've been doing, begging. It's time we stand up and take over. We have to do what every group in this country did. We got to take over the communities where we outnumber people so we can have decent jobs, so we can have decent houses, so we can have decent roads, So we can have decent schools. So we can have decent justice.
Yo, check your mic. Let's test these levels.
Check, 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 check.
Okay, word. We got the sound. Let me know when the break's coming in.
Nah, there's no break. I'm just gonna go straight through.
Alright, kick that shit.
Heaven sent, I can prove this. Any crowd, turn me up loud, KR will move this. Long before Eazy-E, this MC, he was ruthless. Kicking rhymes, spitting rhymes, written rhyme, freestyle, I deuce this. Who's this? You don't know me, homie, I'm the one and only. I turn your tool into a toll, tell you you owe me. You ain't gotta go to the past to know me, homie. I'm KRS-ONE, my power is now, Eckhart-Tolle. These rappers are bony and lonely, I'll catch them coming out of Shoney's. I don't Oscar or admire, they baloney, no phony. I spit for the time from the mind, so when I spit off the head, of course I'm ahead of my time. Yes, I'm better with rhyme, and it's evident I'm the lyrically benevolent kind. This you never gon' find. I'm spitting plenty medleys, this is work, not a job. Rappers are crying like a boss in reverse, they solve. That's when they get robbed and disappointed. They not anointed, get them set up like an appointment. I spit the same heat you like to joint with. Fire, spit the truth, no liar. Heaven sent, this is higher. The mic cooks, I write books. The heavyweight champion, the song becomes a knockout with the right hook. I'm raw, meaning not cooked. These fake rappers heads are down, cause in the face of KRS they do not look. 40 cal style, rap-a-pum like big drums. When I heat up the club to 420, it's done. Light up the teach with the chung, I teach when I come. Knowledge reigning supreme, what these rappers speaking is dumb. It's a treat when I come, I'm not what you used to. I'm the return of Khufu all over these tracks like choo-choo. I'm the guru, so when my teaching premieres, it's gangstar. Hitting you and your man in the same car. These whack rappers, fuck who they are. KRS is like a hooligan, hitting them all with the same bars. Hooligans, hitting them with the same bars. Your whack style just ain't ours. Venus to Mars, I'm teaching with bars, spitting these bars. But youngins under 21 can't even get into these bars. So, I don't blame them if they not seeing these bars. Cause when I hit them with my universe, all they seeing is stars. Speaking of bars, when I spit one, you can see it's all about impact over an income. The big one, multi-directional and exceptional. 10 of my first 20 albums are all collectibles. You feel the heat when I'm next to you, truly legendary. Underground, undetectable, and revolutionary. Most of what's going on today, you know we knew already. I tried to teach our people, but poverty, it took too many. It shook too many. We can see what a curse is. So I re-emerge to show these youngins who the first is. The minister, frying rap chickens like churches. And the worst is seeing your temperature taken by nurses. IV bags, your family picking out hearses. It's like you at the Barclays Center, you won't survive these verses. Sprite means spirit, so I obey what my thirst is. The whole planet, so-called Earth, is what my turf is.
Hold up.
KRS-ONE.
Yo, I got this. Yo, this is about to be fire. Levels is on point. You sound good out here. Let's get this project started.
Can you dance? Let's find out. I want to see everybody on the dance floor right now. I'm about to put y'all to the test. Let's go. Do you know the dances? Do you know the hip-hop dances? Let's see. This one is the raw for sure, taking no chances. Bringing back them old school dances, here's the answers. Whether you remember or you're new to this endeavor, dance is a major part of this culture forever. What are we preserving if the children ain't learning? Culture ain't about just numbering and just wording. Sometimes you gotta show the culture at the party. Let's start with the Bismarck dance, come on everybody. The Bismarck, the party bout to get sparked. This is that moment you get live, get courage, get hard. I spit art, I'm one of a kind, they not me. I'm digitally underground like Shock G. Speaking of Shock G, when I jump, we jump. That's crisscross, but we talking about Humpty Hump. When you up, what? This is your chance. Come on everybody, do the Humpty dance. Let's go! Was the Humpty, now let's get it chunky. Like Biz used to say, yo, let's get funky. Funky, with the funk flow, we don't stop. Right about now, we gonna take it to the WAP. Remember the WAP? Feet slide, shoulder drop. We did it in the Cubs, we even did it on the block. Ready, set, go, stand on your spot. Take it to the top, come on y'all, let's do the WAP. Non-stopping, hip-hopping, we dropping. We ain't even get yet to popping or locking. It's shocking how many dance moves we came with. Obviously, we and the ancestors got the same gift, the same lift, the same riff, and the same split. Like Bob Marley said, when the music hits, it's painless. You can't tame this or hate this. You gotta love me. Come on, y'all. Let me see you do the Dougie. Woo! That's right. This that part where we go freestyle. Some of y'all doing the Cabbage Patch, some of y'all doing the Running Man. Let me see what you got. Come on. Freestyle, freestyle. Come on, y'all. Yeah. Where my B-boys at? Where my B-girls at? Okay, we out.
Arrive at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue.
Let's go back. Back in the time. Back in 73, in the borough of Bronx. Man, you couldn't be weak. Man, you had to be smart. See, we talking about streets. Now we talking about art. When we talking about beats, man, we talking about heart. We was rocking the heartbeat, live in the park, gun spark in the dark. It was all just a part of the 80s Bronx scene that created art. How you know, KRS? Cause I was there from the start. 1600 Sedgwick Avenue, that was the spot. 1520, hip-hop started right on my block. This original hip-hop, whether you like it or not. I'm reminding through this rhyming cause you might have forgot. Drop on the spot, B-boy, start pop. Live on the block, this is raw hip. Hop, drop on the spot, grab writers don't stop. Bottom to the top, this is raw hip. Hop, drop on the spot, MCs make it hot. Microphone rock, this is raw hip. Hop, drop on the spot, DJs on the chop. Cut, mix, scratch, this is raw. See, when we would begin, they brought the heroin in. They was really determined that we was never gonna win. But by looking within, we began to believe that we was breakers and writers, chasing MCs. We was so damn poor, we was eating free cheese, but that made us raw. We started eating MCs, just before the fees and the MTVs. When you walked in New York and your ears would freeze. Walla beats and leads, mock necks and tees, nylon BVDs. We was fucking with these, we was fucking with this, we was fucking with that. But when the 80s came in, we started fucking with crack. And along with the crack came a big old gap. And along with the gap came a big old stack. Cause if you ain't had that, you was the next to get jacked. This the way that it was, I'm just taking it back. Drop on the spot, B-boy, start pop. Live on the block, this is raw hip. Hop, drop on the spot, grab writers don't stop. Bottom to the top, this is raw hip. Hop, drop on the spot, MCs make it hot. Microphone rock, this is raw hip. Hop, drop on the spot, DJs on the chop. Cut, mix, scratch, this is raw. Just the way that it was, just the way that it went. Man, you had to survive. Card note with the rent. When the 90s arrived, 80s money was spent. All them dudes that was live, to the prison they went. And them dudes that survived, they began to repent. Then they realized in rap there was money to get. So gangsters became rappers, rappers became gangsters. Fake became the real for the paper.
Where you at? Where you at? Live on the mic. We live here tonight. We live getting it right. Oh yeah, the mic looks like it's on. But the music is still low. I'm about to get it on. Let me walk closer to the speaker. No feedback right now for the teacher. Maybe I can do it right here. Right here, I think my voice is sounding clear. Yeah, I'm behind you and I'm behind her. I'm behind her. The real money is just a her. Right, this is how I do it on the mic. Now I can hear myself loud. Right, yeah. Make sure I look in the camera off the screen. Taking it back to 80. Shout out to Run DMC. I want my people around me. Hip hop, it don't stop. This is how. With me with it. Blowing it up. If you are MC in the house, you need to come down here and get it out. Open it up. Open it up. Open it up. Open it up. Wait a minute, I need another mic. I ain't gonna let this go all night. Yo, Salmon, give me another mic. I got MCs wanting to spit the mic. Yeah. We gon' get it started. Nothing sweet-hearted. No daily departed. Hey, Mom, what's up? We in the yard blowing it up. Mom, I thank you. I thank you, Mom. This is KRS-ONE. I'm with your son. He got you on the phone. And he gonna be home. Peace, Mom. Yeah, yo. Yeah, yo. Give me the mic with the cord. Give me the mic with the cord. Yeah, yeah. Yo, yo. You spitting raw? I'm always spitting raw. Do your shit, bro. Hey, yo, we need this shit for eyes who never saw the illness. Southside of St. Louis. Open it up. We in St. Louis, and you know we standing tall. When everybody in St. Louis is down here at the walls. Yo, yo. Hands up and give in, man. Y'all can be in St. Louis, a bitch is still up in there. Yeah, KRS-ONE is rocking with the S. Pay attention to the kids, represent the Midwest Avengers. What about you and yours? Freestyle, we been across the nation all over the tour. One day we're probably gonna win the national, but I'm the kids who understand that this shit is sounding rational. They hear how we sounding. A lot of motherfuckers have problems with the sound, man. But yo, we appreciate it. Hey yo, we demonstrate it. FWA in the house and we start spraying. So yo, they got your hand all over my dome. Can you put your hand back a little bit for the bro? Thank you. It's easy, guys, thank you for freestyle all night because we all have to thank you. Four elements. Hip-hop, I know you understand the elements. DJ and B-boy and graffiti. But right now you see me on stage, I'm MCing. Midwest Avengers, stand firm at this level. A lot of kids shiver. Pay attention, yo, y'all need you all to look. KRS-ONE before you leave. Can you talk about Black Book? Of course! Yo, Pascal, take this. Yo, Pascal, take this. I can never fake this. Yo, turn that book over. Let me take this. yo, back up and give me room. Yo, back up, yo, lift your shoe. Somebody said it on the mic cord. Somebody said it on my mic cord. It is you, somebody take a step back, please. It's so MC, yo, KRS-ONE, the MC. Here we go. Here we go.
Random people about everywhere I go. They ask for autographs and photos. Who am I? They really don't know. They ain't never seen no photos. Think I go from Acapulco. Got the meanest round of polo. They ain't think they on the dolo. Couldn't be more obvious. Haters go slit your wrist with a razor. Take your life cause you scared. And you know that it's a state of euphoria. Brawling with real warriors. You don't really want it with us. Give me the coroner. Searching for the answers. Dashing down every corridor. Running around in circles when you don't know what you're looking for. Secrets all the doubt and the hate. From all these suckers throwing shade and trying to eat up our plates. These motherfuckers telling stories, but I cannot relate. We just make different that way.
Peace and welcome to the
Peace and welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. I am Minister Sun One. We're here in a hotel right now and trying to get this together. Obviously, as you all saw, the videos are fairly choppy, and we did have something pre-recorded especially for today, but because you won't necessarily be able to understand it clearly, we're going live. We do have a show today, which is why we pre-recorded it. We got sound checked around like 3 o'clock. So we're going to do this live. The teacher is getting prepared right now. I'm trying to look through and see what else we can get going before he comes through. I hope you all are having a wonderful week. Happy Labor Day weekend. Take a break for those doing hard labor. And it's a great time, obviously. People are having cookouts, family gatherings, and so it's always a good time to be with your family. Get some time off, at least. I'm still looking to see what we have. Okay, here we go. I'm getting into the right place. Teacher is almost ready. Let's see. I can't find nothing right now. This is crazy. Okay, here we go. All right, we're gonna see what it is. Well, we'll start with this and keep it going.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the Hip Hop Alliance. Hip Hop's first official union. We fighting for rights. Workers' rights, labor rights. Y'all know what it is. Fair wages. Let's hit 'em. Who's really speaking for the artist? Everybody knows the music industry is heartless. Knowledge reigns supreme, not what an artist on a chart is. It's about fair wages and royalties. Let me start this, spark this. It's about cultural self-reliance, corporate defiance. We got this down to a science. It's called the Hip Hop Alliance. We take it back to stop the violence. For 30 years I've been the culture's guidance. You can't deny this. I clean pupils when they open their eyelids. In a blink I teach kids to think. That's what I did and do. Reaching and pulling out the culture inside of you. With the truth inside of you, no one can lie to you. It's time to unify him, her, you, and I. Do your part to save the art. Don't be a stupid guy. Front, you can try, but it's your time you wasting. We starting an alliance against corporate exploitation.
Nostalgia. A sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past. Typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. This is nostalgia. So let us take you back to a place, a time, good memories. This is nostalgia.
What is the five fingers say to the face? Slap!
Adidas and law, flat tops and gold chains. That was the era of crack rock and cocaine. Boom boxes, graffiti on them urban walls, and we will put on a show before them curtain calls. There was no justice, there was no fairness. We saw the rise of imagination and awareness. On the streets beneath my feet, I felt the culture shifting. There's no passion now, everyone's somewhat different. A lot of mumbling, rappers need humbling. They stumbling, they don't sound hood, they sound Republican. Keep the body language, and all I see is signs of fear. They need to look back and learn from the pioneers. Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett, how we rock it. Still talking all that jazz like Sonic. The game's changed. How did we let it get away? I feel nostalgia like memories of yesterday. Now I turn back the hands of time. When brothers were profound and skilled to rhyme. When I hear songs of KRS-ONE,
I feel nostalgia.
Eric B. and Ron Kim.
I feel nostalgia.
Now I turn back the hands of time. When brothers were profound and skilled to rhyme. When I hear Wu-Tang in the tribe,
I feel nostalgia.
What?
I feel nostalgia. Turn me up loud, I'm spitting with power. I just lit the flower. Hey yo Tim, these rappers are cowards. I'm watching them cower, knocking them down like the towers. I am hip hop round the clock, cause it's hours, minutes and seconds. I'm feeling nostalgia. I rain like a shower, smoking broken rappers like puffing the sour. I'm a shooter, they shouters, but here's what I'm gonna do. The only difference between a shooter and a shouter is you. True, I talk about things I got the power to do. I might not be as loud as him, but I'm louder than you. And every whack rapper rapping it ain't got a clue about the Coca-Cola Rock, Timmy Tim, and the Pebbly Pooh. Cindy Herc and the nigga twins in the face too. Hip-hop is nostalgic, think about it, it made you. But the corporations played you, and the churches betrayed you. Not only the penal system's there to enslave you. That's when I rise up quick like a biscuit with the sick shit on time like tick, 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 tick. When I do the Dougie, I'm fresh like Slick Rick. I'm cut from a different cloth, that's why I rip shit.
Now I turn back the hands of time. When brothers were profound and skilled to rhyme. When I hear songs of KRS-ONE,
I feel nostalgia.
Eric B. and Ron Kim.
I feel nostalgia.
Now I turn back the hands of time. When brothers were profound and skilled to rhyme. When I hear Wu-Tang in the tribe.
Back in the day, see I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. And some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Some days I sit and wish I was a 10 again. Same day I pick the paper up and grab the pen. Sometimes I rock that pocket and then I play that big, Sometimes I think I'm Fox and then I'm Kim again, Once I heard that Nas, it was written in them. I just wanted love for my penmanship. Hip hop kid, I was spitting in. Tip top shape, I was getting in. These gas jeans, don't you question me. That's the sound of police every second beat. Can't be mad, matter of fact, that's a fact. Twist rubber bands and rap, I thought I was the brat. Yes, I am the best one. In like 4, 3, 2, KRS-ONE. Yeah, Erica past that nostalgia. Reminiscing, think about the good old days.
You know it.
Now I turn back the hands of time. When brothers were profound and skilled to rhyme. When I hear songs of KRS-ONE,
I feel nostalgia.
Eric B. and Ron Kim.
I feel nostalgia.
Now I turn back the hands of time.
That's
When
right.
brothers were profound and skilled to rhyme. When I hear Wu-Tang in the tribe,
I feel nostalgia.
My people now.
I feel nostalgia. Yeah. Tim Terror, let's do this. You know it. Fresh for 2022. You sucker.
Know your potential, know you are a goddess. Worldwide traveling ladies work the hardest. Don't be mad cause we are coming up. It's just ladies' luck, put your ones up. This time I'm gonna make it, I'ma come up. It's my time to shine, don't try to run up. Had my share of failures in the past. This time good times last. See, I'm a queen from the ghetto. See, I'm a queen from the ghetto. Protect your queendom. Spend a lot of time taking many jobs. Going nowhere, working so hard. Gave that up and quickly made a change. Quick cash, big step, she let him make it rain. But she knew one day that she would come up, change her life again. She sees the sun up. It's her time to shine, don't try to run up. Had your share of failures, put your ones up. In life, put your ones up. Say it's alright. See, she's a queen from the ghetto. See, she's a queen from the ghetto. Protect your queendom. When I rise, they always start chasing. Backstabbing, throwing shade, over tea debating. Came from the bottom, now we're moving on up. Let's just get the checks, put your ones up. Street life really takes a toll. Young man, peer pressure, gotta play a role. Risk his life each night, packing bowls. Taking what's not yours, truth be told. Big dreams, big plans, you gotta get a break. Street life will bite, be careful what you take. Young man, you don't know who you are. One day you could be a star. He said, I will change my life. Say it's alright. See, he's a king from the ghetto. See, he's a king from the ghetto. Hey. Protect your kingdom. When I rise, they always start chasing. Backstabbing, throwing shade, over tea debating. Came from the bottom, now we're moving on up. Let's just get the checks, put your ones up. You're gonna know my name, Queen. You're gonna know my name, Queen. When I rise, they always start chasing. Backstabbing, throwing shade, over tea debating. Came from the bottom, now we're moving on up. Let's just get the checks, put your ones up.
Yes, indeed. I am KRS-ONE. Now, wait a minute. Let's open some windows so we could get this real quick. We're still trying to deal with this. Yeah, get that one too. We're still trying to deal with our technical situation. As you saw, we tried to start out, and it started out real choppy in that sense. Hold up, I'm just getting some light, trying to see, trying to see me here in this sense. And you know what? Actually, take a look at the TV. Looks a little crooked, I think, but it might be all right. Might be all right to get this lesson off. You see it?
Yeah, no, I think it's. Oh.
It looks a little crazy, right? Just a little bit. No. Yeah, something like that. Well, look, y'all. This is what it is. This is what it is today. We are in Chicago, and as you can see, we set up this makeshift PowerPoint presentation today. What we had done, what we was prepared to do, was to and you know what, jump on and make sure we're not choppy. We're looking for your responses if we. If the lesson is going out, or if it's too choppy, or this, that, and the other, let us know what's actually going on. So as you can see, we're doing this on the fly. Usually we're a little more organized, but this is what it is. Sometimes you have to go with this type of flow when you rolling with the ancestors. The internet here in this part of town that I'm in, Evanston, Illinois, the suburb of Chicago. The internet in this hotel seems to be freaking out and doing whatever it wants to do. So we decided to do this. We decided to just turn things around real quick and do it this way. So as you can see, the my image is not as clear as it could be or should be, but it's all good. You can see me and you can see this. And so I'm going to give this lecture real quick because we're coming up on the end of our read. We're coming up on the end of the read, the fourth track of God, the Great Event, our 16th overstanding. We're coming to the end of that, and it's a short read. So, but a powerful one. So what we're talking about here today is identity. You'll notice those that have their gospels of hip hop, and I'm not going to get into this right now, but if you have your gospel of hip hop, you'll notice that the fourth track, this fourth part of our study, deals with the I, and that's what we're going to be talking about, the inner I, the inner self. And it's so funny because I didn't wake up this morning thinking that I was going to be live like this online, on camera. But, sometimes, when God moves, the body and the mind is not always prepared. And so you got to be ready. This one, I'm stepping on this. No, you just get rid of it. Oh, you need to get okay, good. So look, hold on. First of all, I got some announcements. Before we start, let me just go through just some shout outs real quick. Big shout out to Lady B in Philly. Just want to get that off my chest. Big shout out to Lady B in Philly, and all of Philadelphia. The Philly show was great. Shout out to Chubb Rock, Big Daddy Kane, Luke Skywalker, everybody that was on the show. Charlie Mack as well, promoters. Walt Reeder, who's the agent for the show. This is the crew, y'all. That's why I'm saying their names into history and saying them to you. These are the people that look out for us. These are the people who are part of the movement and finance the movement as well. They know all about the Temple of Hip Hop. They know all about what we're doing in terms of preservation of hip hop. And this is their way of supporting what we do. And so all the time, you know me, I'm always headlining some show. Philly was no different, crushed it. It was great. So because I was able to headline, I had the last part of it, and I gave that tribute to Lady B. So you're going to see something. Son One is chopping something up right now that exemplifies that tribute we gave to Lady B in Philadelphia. I did a song called Just Lean on Me, originated by G. Simone. She sang the chorus over a Beat Miners beat. Shout out to Mr. Walton Evil D. She sang that over that, and I jumped on with the lyric and just basically asked you, whose shoulder do you lean on? Who do you depend upon? It's time to start shouting those people out. So I got a lot of people around me that I depend upon. So that record shit goes out to everyone, to all of you who are around me that make this temple possible and make the make our tours possible, make the lectures possible. It's not just me, and you know that. It ain't just KRS standing here doing this. We have a lot of assistants and people who are dedicated to the movement. Thank you. So shout out to Lady B and Philadelphia. We moved over to, actually the day before Lady B, we was in Washington, D.C. at Constitution Hall. Crazy. Got busy in there. Big up to Rakim. Killed it. He was dope. I can't remember. EPMD, how could I forget? EPMD was, I didn't see EPMD. He was like ships in the night. But they was on the show. Heard they did a good job. And I was there for Rakim, a couple other acts as well. Crushed DC. Big up to the whole Washington, DC. That was crazy. Then we went over to Paint Louis. St. Louis. St. Louis was crazy. It was called Paint Louis. And that Paint Louis part, boy, that thing just moved by itself. Yeah, it was interesting. That thing just moved. Yeah. Right there. Make sure that don't fall. Yeah. Nice. So we was in Paint Louis, really St. Louis, Missouri, but there was a graffiti exhibition brought to us by Lifted. Shout out to Lifted all day. He got with G. Simone and they created, or actually was able to book KRS at this, the largest graffiti wall in the United States, or so they're claiming. They have the largest graffiti wall in the United States, and it was mad artists out there getting busy. I was honored to be there in a total hip hop situation. It was dope. But the sound was whack. And it just goes to show you how spontaneous you gotta be when you walking in spirit. We're gonna talk about this. How spontaneous you're gonna be. The opportunity is never gonna be right. It's never gonna be right. You gotta be able to jump up and do your thing when God calls. So right there, live on stage, I got a chance to get 3, 4, 5 songs off, and then the sound goes out. I'm talking to the sound man, he's stupid, don't know nothing. So we go out, what do we gotta do? I gotta rely on my MC skills. Ducked down into the crowd, got into the crowd. A little bit of sound came on. You know, I'm standing in front of the house speaker now. Okay, I'm not on stage. I'm in the crowd, standing by the house speaker. A little bit of music come on, and I had the mic. So we off the side of the stage with a wired mic coming from the stage and my cordless mic. Do you realize how busy it got in that building?
He saw it.
You saw that was, oh, you saw it, he already played. Oh man, that was psycho, okay? St. Louis got thugged with it. It just got crazy, and the cycle was dope. That was spontaneous. That was not my plan. Oh man, you think you in control of your life? We gonna talk today. That was not my plan. I wanted to do a nice show, give my professional performance. Nope, it broke down to straight savagery. And so there it was. And it was great. And I appreciated it. They appreciated it. The promoter appreciated it. It was dope. And we did our thing at the graffiti wall. It was dope. So big up to St. Louis, Missouri. Now Paint Louis. They've been doing it for 25 years too. This was the 25th celebration. So big up to them as well. So today, right now, I'm in Evanston, Illinois, which is the suburb of Chicago. Basically, I'm in Chicago. We're rocking Chicago tonight with Steel Pulse. Those that know the band Steel Pulse, reggae band, Steel Pulse, legends in the game. I ain't got to run their stats down. Just whenever you get a chance, go check them out. Steel Pulse, legendary reggae band. So we got this show today here in one of their theaters, their amphitheaters out here, about 2,000 people, the amphitheater out here. And it's only me, KRS-ONE, and Steel Pulse, which is going to be an exciting show because there's only 2 acts on the show. And it's funny because it's a reggae show, but they put KRS on the show, on a reggae show. So this goes to show you also about the diversity even of your teacher. The diversity here is crazy. And think about the crowd. They want the reggae because Steel Pulse is the headliner. Yes, finally, I get to open up. I'm not a headliner on this one. And I'm going to take full advantage of it in that sense. Steel Pulse is the headliner. And so it's really a reggae show. They're coming with a band, guitar. They got a whole deal. I'm coming with 2 turntables and a microphone. I'm going to get it so busy, okay? This is what we get ready to go do in about 5 hours. About 5 hours from here. The show is today, right now, as I broadcast to you. So in about 5 hours, we're going to run over there. Really, in about 2 hours, I might have to go do sound check. So I might want to have to hurry this up. I might have to go do sound check, but the show is not till about 7 o'clock tonight or so. So we're going to talk about us today, and then we're going to run off and do this show with Steel Pulse and get it in. Maybe next week I'll have some footage of it. Maybe we'll show it. Maybe we won't. You'll know what it is. This is what it is. So that's it in terms of announcements. Oh, no. Let me keep going. 2 more announcements. One, 50 years, hip hop 50 years at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue Community Center in the Bronx, August 11th, 2023. As you know, we're doing our hip hop exhibit. Hip hop is coming up on 50 years. We have partnered, I should say, with the 1520 Sedgwick Avenue Tenant Association, as well as the owners of the building itself, to actually produce a hip hop 50 years exhibit at the actual birthplace of hip hop. So this, of course, is going to take us some time. We don't have a lot of time. It's only about a year we have. We announced it on August 11th, 2022, and it wasn't even a big announcement. We just went there to christen the event for ourselves, August 11th, 2022. So we have till August 11th, 2023 to, produce this event. And so, like I said, this hip hop coming up on 50 years. So we will be appealing to you every once in a while for your support. And not just financial support, because we are going to do a Kickstarter on this, but more importantly, your artistic support. Shout out to Desire out there in Florida. I have not forgotten our conversation. You know I say this every week because I want to keep it fresh on our minds. As you can see, we're running around doing our thing, but this is going to come to an abrupt stop as of tomorrow. We had about 4 or 5 shows to do. We just did them. This is the last show. Actually, it was 4 shows, so this is the last one. After this, we go back home, and then I'm able to really then get organized, make calls, follow up with everything that went on out here. So shout out to all the graffiti writers that are on this call right now that may want to actually get involved with this as well. Let me give you this announcement. I'm gonna put it into the record just so we're clear and that we all know. Some of you may be new to what we're doing right now. So let me just read this announcement to you. Yes, 1973 to 2023 marks 50 years of hip hop in the world. And it is in honor of this magnificent urban culture that we come together to present the Hip Hop 50 Years exhibition, opening at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx, August 11th, 2023. It is here, through the eye of hip hop's legendary graffiti writers, that we show the actual development of hip hop's culture over a 50-year period. Within the Hip Hop 50 Years exhibition, we will be looking at hip hop itself and its real influences in the world. This means that even though the Hip Hop 50 Years exhibition will highlight certain key figures in the development of hip hop's global culture, the Hip Hop 50 Years exhibition is more focused upon hip hop itself than anyone's contributions to it. Respectfully, the Hip Hop 50 Years exhibition shows the development of hip hop as culture. And get that, make sure you get that, hip hop as culture and not as simply a music genre. Shown through the vibrant colors of hip hop's graffiti art, the Hip Hop 50 Years exhibition preserves and explains the original Bronx culture that gave rise to hip hop's artistic expressions. You don't want to miss this. Admission is by appointment only. You can reserve your tour of the Hip Hop 50 Years exhibition opening August 11, 2023 at hiphop50years@gmail.com. That's hiphop50years@gmail.com. And the 50 is 50. hiphop50years@gmail.com. Some of you have already sent in your request, your RSVP. Make sure that if you want to be part of this, you put your request in. And we're at the top of the year. So, you know, make sure you do this before we announce it to the public. And then it's this mad rush to have an RSVP to come and see the exhibit at the birthplace of hip hop itself. Also, when I say legendary graffiti writers, we're looking not just for graffiti writers, but graffiti writing branches out into tattoo art, branches out into cartooning, as well as portraits. We're looking for that kind of city art. We're not looking for Picasso. We're not looking for Michelangelo. We're not looking for this style of art. And big respect to them as well. You know, these guys, Gauguin and all of that. Big shout out to you just as artists. But this is hip hop. And we're looking for a certain style of art. And our graffiti writers do this. That's why we went, when I was in New York last week, we met with the Tax crew. And the Tax crew committed to helping us with this. They'll come up with amazing pieces that exemplify what hip hop is about. Because remember, the exhibit is a hip hop exhibit. We're not showing you, popular rappers and how much a DJ may have sold or a producer. We're not talking about the commerce of hip hop in that way. We're talking about the development of hip hop as culture over a 50-year period. So that's the Hip Hop 50 Years exhibition. Also keep in mind that after this show that I do here, which will conclude our little mini tour, I go home, back to Atlanta. I go to Atlanta. There, I'm going to take a meeting with Grandmaster Flash. We're going to sit down, talk about a new album coming up in 2023. Yes, KRS, Grandmaster Flash. We're going to talk about it because it may just be a single, actually. We may just get it off with just a single and it may be it. It may be an EP, a quick 7 songs, something like that. Or it may be a full-blown out album or even a double album with movie DVD. So we're going to talk about all of that. Just wanted to put that into the record as well. And shout out to Grandmaster Flash and all of the work that he has done as well. Last one, we are completing an authentic master class. We've been in studios recording, I should say, producing an authentic and official hip hop teachers masterclass. This masterclass, the first part of it is going to be free to the public because, here at the Temple, we don't sell our knowledge like that. Our culture needs this knowledge, and that's why it's going out like that. But it's the first part of it. The first, which basically gives you the surface of what we teach. The 3 spellings of hip hop, 9 elements, the difference between objective and subjective hip hop, the etymology of hip hop itself, and a little bit of its psychic and conscious ability. The surface of our teachings is what we're going to put out to the public. That's coming. It's a master class. It's really an informative teaching course. It's a course for teachers. For those that are going to teach hip hop, it's a course for teachers. So that should be coming soon, maybe before the year is out, but most likely all of this is 2023 on a bigger level. We'll show you the first part of the masterclass. It's called An Introduction to Hip Hop, and it's actually off this book right here. Those of you that came to Hip Hop Appreciation Week, those that came to Hip Hop Appreciation Week 2022 with your true hip hopper certification, you also received one of these. And this is the galley form manual, our teaching manual. You got one of these to go back and study our teaching methodology. That's what this is. Now, of course, the one I'm holding is a more advanced copy even than what I gave you. Because you remember when I gave them out, I said, I'm giving these out so that we can read it and go over the errors, grammatical errors, things that might not have been typed right, this kind of stuff. This is what we do at the Temple of Hip Hop. We sharpen each other's skills. I don't just deliver knowledge to you from on high. I learn with you. I am the guidance of the knowledge by which we're going to learn, but we all learn it together. This is a more advanced guy. I corrected the errors and made this version. The reason I say that is because I want to refer to this particular writing as well, and those that have this manual, this rare teaching manual. If you have it, you might want to go try to find it and dig it out, because I'm going to talk from this real briefly here today as well. But this here, An Introduction to Hip Hop, is followed up by an actual Introduction to Hip Hop masterclass. And that's what my last statement is here with this. So you have a full understanding what's going on, what's coming up. And of course, last week, everything that I mentioned last week is also in function as well, meaning our correspondence with the mayor's office, Atlanta mayor. We have a meeting coming up there as well when I get back to Atlanta as well. The people who are the AFL-CIO person, Jonathan, by the way, he's still working, doing his thing. Remember, the Hip Hop Alliance is still being built. People are still working on the union side of this, doing their thing. So all of that is still going. All of what I just said to you is going. And here we go, okay, with today's lesson. So now I said I want to start here, because what we're doing is we're talking about the I, and not this I, this I. Some of you may want to refer to the Rock Star lecture, which or Fifth Dimension, whatever it's called online. It has several titles, but Rock Star, Fifth Dimension, where we talk about the inner ear, the inner voice, and the inner eye. You may want to go there, refresh yourself on that particular lesson to get more in depth about what we're talking here. We're going to go a little past that right now and deal with that. We're talking about God. And we're talking about the I, in I. And what's so amazing about this I in I, the I that is in I. This I is one. Are you hearing me right now? Let me run it back, because you know how we're going to get. Okay, it's going to start. Okay, it's going to start. Okay, here we go. The I. When I say I, and you say I, there's only one I. Like, get this. If you say me and I say me, that's two me's. If you say you, that's two yous. There's a personality with that. There's a you and there's a me. Okay, I'm owning that. But when we say I, we own the I. But the same I have, the same I that I am eyeing, is the same I that you are eyeing. I is one. The concept of the I is one in all of creation. The I, the sense of self, and I can't even call it self. You're going to have to reach past these words, but this is all the words we got. We speak English. So we got it. This is as far as we can go, but you're going to have to take your soul a little further. That I, the inner you, is what is looking out through what is called the eyes. If you say I, that I you have, that I you just said, is the same I I'm going to say. In fact, if you look at Roman numerals, why is it that, look at this, the letter I is the 9th letter in the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. It's the 9th letter in the alphabet, the letter I. So why does the Roman numeral 1, why is it I? Somebody knows something that we don't know and they're not telling us. Why would you use this symbol, I, to mean 1 in your lexicon of words and letters and in your alphabet? In addition to that, and think about this for a minute, in addition to this, we now use that word I to identify ourselves. I. That I is one with, that I is one. That's what I'm trying to say. There is no 2 or 3 I's. There's only one I. And that I is also the one. When we say KRS-ONE, SIM-ONE, Sun-ONE, PASCAL-ONE, lifted one, desire one. When we say one, we're also saying I. And that one is one because the I is one. There's one I. And when you, oh, look at what I just said. There's one I. The single sight. Wait a minute. Okay, look. Let me start you off here. If you have your, well, this is called an introduction to hip hop, a hip hop tutorial for hip hop's teachers. Okay, this is a short manual we put together. I'm on page 77. I'm gonna breeze through this. The pages are not gonna match up, but I'm on page 77. And what I'm saying that to say that the I'm at this piece called identity. You may have that in your, no, you do have this in your manual if you have it. Page 77 is mine, but identity is what we're going to start with, okay? Because we're talking about the I. The I. Identity is what we're starting with. Now, let me just hit you with it real quick. And for those that don't have this, just listen to me right now. Take this in. And here, we are talking about identity in its strict etymological sense, meaning not just what you appear to be to others, but more accurately, what you appear to be to yourself. What are you one with? This is it right here. One, the one. Looking again at the Oxford English Dictionary, we see the word identity coming from the word ident. Now, I would have pulled it up here, but I have another lesson on here we're going to get into a little later on. And I should be showing this to you. But again, this was, I guess, one of the privileges of coming to Hip Hop Appreciation Week. I don't mean to put it that way, but those that showed up, they have this knowledge and you can actually see it and follow along. But what I'm going to say here is the reason I'm stopping is because the word ident or ident, I-D-E-N-T, this is the word that the word identity is coming from. Ident, meaning diligent and persistent. And of course, here we have the etymology laid out here as well. We have the Oxford English laid out right here, where you can see directly the etymology that I'm talking about. That's why this is written this way, because you're supposed to be able to see it and do your own further research into this word indent. I put all the knowledge right there for you. But here's the explanation of the pictures that are in this manual. It says, ident, meaning diligent and persistent. From ident, I-D-E-N-T, we get indent, I-N-D-E-N-T, which goes on to produce the word indently, okay? Indently, meaning diligently, attentively, persistently, and continuously. The general premise of the word being persistently and continuously, or doing the same task repeatedly, or being known for the same thing. That's what this word means. That's what indently means. The general premise of the word being persistently and continuously, or doing the same task repeatedly, or being known for the same thing. This leads to the word identical, meaning the same. And what is interesting here is that the word identical, meaning the same, goes on to say in the Oxford English, quote, the very same, said of one thing or set of things, viewed at different times or in different relations. This is the piece right here, end quote. And let me say it again, quote, the very same, said of one thing or set of things, viewed at different times or in different relations, end quote. This is what it means to be identical. Therefore, according to this definition of identical, sameness between things or people is not confined to any space or time. If something is the same as something else, they are called identical, regardless of distance or relation or time. Did you hear that? This is also how culture is passed on. Those that are one with their culture are identical with it. They are aware of their place in the continuum of the culture. Their culture is their identity, which is cited as, quote, the quality or condition of being the same in substance, composition, nature, properties, or in particular qualities under consideration. Absolute or essential sameness, oneness, end quote. This explanation also pertains to one's relation to one's ancestors or to one's professional predecessors. This is the connection. Are you the same in substance, composition, nature, and properties as what you know to be original hip hop? As a teacher of hip hop, as a hip hop teacher, is your teaching quality or condition the same as the teachers that have come before you? This is what it means to carry the one. And let me even take you further, okay? Look at what's being said. Identity is what you are identical with. Do you see this? Your identity is based on what you are identical with, what you identify with. We're going to talk about that right now. Identity is what you are identical with, same as. When people talk about this, they say, well, hip hop is breaking MC in the graffiti yard. And that's you too. They say, yo, I'm going down to check out these rappers and so on, and you are a rapper. That means you are identical with what they are saying is hip hop. Now imagine, take this further and apply it to God. What you are identical with is your identity. Here's the empowerment. Let's go. In the same Oxford English Dictionary, we see the second definition of identity to mean, quote, the sameness of a person or thing at all times or in all circumstances, the condition or fact that a person or thing is itself and not something else. Individuality, personality. This leads to the idea of personal identity in the field of psychology, which is the condition or fact of remaining the same person throughout various phases of existence. Are you the same person all the time? This is your identity. When you're looking for identity, it's not that you have to look outside and say, well, where is my identity? You have to ask yourself, what am I the same as? What am I doing all the time? In any circumstance, at any time, what am I doing? What is my identity? And you have several identities if you really look at it. I mean, take a look at it. I'm a father as well. I'm always a father. I can't get away from it. I'm a father. That's what it is. I'm always a father. My daughter, my sons, they can call me right now and interrupt this whole lecture. This is what it is, okay? Always a father. So fatherhood is part of my identity. It's what I always am. Take a look at it. The sameness of a person or thing at all times or in all circumstances. The condition or fact that a person or thing is itself and not something else. Individuality, personality. This is called personal identity in the field of psychology. When you study psychology, it's called personal identity, meaning this is who I am all the time. I'm hip hop all the time, in any circumstance, and at all times, I am hip hop. Part of my identity. You can even take it racially and say, I'm always a black man. Say it. At least according to this society, the socio-political designation that I bear in this society is black man or African American. I'm that all the time. When I walk outside, that's what it is. Lecture, shows, shopping, whatever, I'm always this. So black man or African American is part of my identity. I am identical to it. It's who I am all the time. Now, here's the kicker. Okay, here's the kicker. This is also known as continuity of personality. Who are you all the time? Continuity of personality. But Oxford's second definition of identify, this is now we're going to identify, but I'm reading the second definition. Second definition of identify points out that to identify with something or someone is to make yourself identical in thought or in reality with that something or someone. Did you hear that? To identify with something is to make yourself identical with it in thought. To identify, meaning to make one. That's what it means, quote. To identify, quote, to make one. Or the same in interest, in feelings, or in principle is to establish one's real identity. What you identify with is your identity. What do you identify? And this is even deeper than any socio-political designation that may be on you, or even, or even, what you were born into. The real question to your identity on a deeper level is, what do you identify with? What do you actually identify with? And this is the issue. This is what I'm talking about right here. Hold on one second here. Yeah, shut that door. Okay, you see what I just said here? At any moment, somebody could just come and interrupt. And obviously, like all hotels, here's housekeeping banging on the door. So we just dealt with that. Anyway, let me continue. So to identify with something, is to make yourself one with it. Be careful what you identify with. Be careful what you identify with, because you're making yourself one with whatever you are identifying yourself with. This is important. This is important because what if you identified with God? You see, we take this so surfacely, but what if you really what do you identify with? If you identify with divinity, then divinity is your identity, and your identity is who you are. Do you identify with thieves and murderers? I mean, I'm saying, you may laugh and say, how did nobody identify with a thief? Oh, no, wait. Slow the thought down. Do you actually identify with thieves? Somebody got robbed and you like, yeah, I wish that was me. Dude just came up on a new car. I wish that was me. Do you envy thieves? Do you want what they got? What about people killing people, running around murdering people for no reason, like the cops? Do you envy that? Do you identify with that? Because what you identify with, you're making yourself one with, which will determine your identity. This is your identity. And this is what is so important when we're talking about the I. Before we get to the letter I, let's talk about the identity. What do you identify with? What exactly do you identify with? Looking at identity from this perspective, one must now seriously ask oneself, what is my identity? Is my identity really hip-hop? Do I really share the same interests, feelings, and principles as original hip-hop and hip-hoppers? Even beyond loyalty, what are you the same as? Think about that for a minute. What are you the same as? What are you really one with? Beyond simply representing hip-hop or even respecting hip-hop, are you the same as hip-hop? Are you the same as the original community that first established hip-hop? Are you determined to be the same as hip-hop's original culture? What about hip-hop's cultural interests, its feelings, principles? Is hip-hop really your culture? Really? Or are you really objective in your approach to hip-hop? Hip-hop's over there and I am over here. Be clear with yourself on this matter. These questions are what really establishes one's identity in any group, and especially within hip-hop. That's what I wanted to start with from here, from our teacher's manual. Let me get to this PowerPoint real quick. This teacher's manual, this is what I want to bring to you. First, what do you identify with? Who do you identify with? That which you identify with is your identity. Your identity is the definition of you. It's the meaning of you. It tells other people who you are. It tells God who you are. It tells your ancestors who you are. Identity is a continuum. It's the same as. And as we read, it doesn't matter whether it's identity is outside of time and space. If you're the same as the pharaohs of Egypt, you are a pharaoh of Egypt. People don't take this seriously, but it's right here. I just showed you the knowledge. People don't take this seriously, and that's why they don't get nowhere. Because they're looking down on themselves. They're looking down on their identity. Their identity in their own mind is that they're a slave. Because that's what they was taught in school. You came here in 1619, Jamestown, Virginia. Others are taught you was a slave owner and you abused the whole race of people. This is what it is. And we're all taking these lies into our head and forming our identity. We're identifying with it. White folk are being told that you're all slave owners and this is what it is. And white folk identifying with that lie. Because colonialism and imperialism wants white people to go along with their schemes. So they link you up with it through your emotion, through your cultural illiteracy. They say, because we were slave owners and we were criminals, all you white people are criminals and slave owners. And of course, we can always pick up the book and say, of course, that wasn't true. But even though you could pick up a book and say, we know that ain't true, you still believe it. See, this is deeper than that surface knowledge. Somebody could come to you right now and tell you, here's the truth, y'all. There was more white people that were abolitionists than there were slave owners. Slavery was only 4% of the white population. What were the rest of the white people doing? You can hear that all day. I can come with evidence on that all day. It don't matter. Your cultural literacy is telling you who you are. You are identifying more with the culture of colonialism than with the truth of your actual being, which also has evidence to it. But what do you believe? And because your beliefs are going to determine your knowledge. What do you believe? What do you believe of yourself? You believe you was a slave owner? You believe that? Well, then so be it. There it is. You got to sit with that. And that's why white folk walking around guilty, walking around sad and depressed, walking around, don't teach critical race theory. I don't even want to hear it. We walking around like that. Why? Because you have not made up in your own mind what your identity is. What do you identify with? If you don't identify with slave owners, you ain't a slave owner. Your parents could even be slave owners. If you don't agree, you ain't that. And guess what? Guess what? Every child is the latest version of the lineage that that child comes from. So even if your parents were slave owners and your ancestors were slave owners, you're the latest version of them. You could correct the situation right now. See, this is what hip hop offers. You could come right here amongst the slaves and correct the situation right now with a different heart intent, which is proven then through action and word. You could come with a different intention and correct your entire lineage. Imagine one child of Christ can correct generations of evil. Isn't that the story of Christ? That the Christ comes and takes away generations of sin? Well, this is how it happens, because you are the latest version of your generation. They're not supposed to tell you what the generation is. You're supposed to tell them what the generation is, because you're the latest fact in it. Black folk, listen to me. You're going to sit there talking about you a slave and came here in well, you did come here in 1492 as well, but came here in 1619, Jamestown, Virginia. Now look, I could bring book after book after book. I even wrote a book called Black Oustery. It's coming out 2023, which refutes the whole idea of 1619 Jamestown, Virginia. Refutes the whole idea. But you still believe it, don't you? You still identify with the slave narrative over your life, not realizing that you are the latest version of your generation, of your lineage, of your heritage. You are the latest version of your heritage. So even if your ancestors were slave owners, because Black folk were, and slaves, because Black folk were, and let me add that to all folk, Native American, white, everybody owned slaves and everybody was a slave, white folk included. That's another story. But we all shared in that slave and slave owner mentality. We all shared in it at some point. So you Black folk, you are what? Identifying with only the slave narrative. You don't identify with the free Blacks that were walking around as well, right? You don't identify with that. And why? Because Hollywood did not tell you it was okay. Hollywood did not show you a film of free Black people living amongst enslaved Black people and white races. We don't get too many films on that one. We don't get too many films on the millions. Did you hear the word millions? of so-called slaves that killed their way to freedom. You don't get to hear that story, right? That's not part of your identity. You don't identify with free Black people. So what do you identify with? Enslaved Black people. So what are you then? This is your identity. We can't fault people for acting like slaves if they identify themselves with the slave narrative. Then what do you want? I don't identify with a slave narrative. I am the latest version of my line. I get to dictate where the line is going to go, what its meaning is going to be, and how we going to get there. I determine that. Now, when I'm gone, my children will determine where the line goes. They could take it further, they could keep it where it's at, or they can deteriorate it. It would be on them. But in my lifetime, here's what I did with my lineage. Here's what I did with my heritage. I didn't believe the slave narrative. I believe the free narrative. And that's why I think and live the way in which I think and live, amongst others who don't even see or think the same thing. I'm free. Are you free? What do you identify with? Enslaved people or free people? What do you identify with? Criminals or law-abiding citizens? Well, what do you identify with? Do you get happy when you see crime? Or do you get happy when you see people following the law? What do you really identify with? I want to go quickly into God. I want to talk a little bit about God and the word God. Now, this was part of a bigger lecture. This is part of a bigger lecture that I did maybe a couple of years ago. So I'm going to breeze through this real quick. I hope you guys can see the screen clearly. I'm going to breeze through this real quick, but this is also a part of our identity, about what is it that makes up our identity. And you know, this part of our God session, what we're reading, this overstanding the great event, God, the great event. The main question is, where do you get your God knowledge from? Who is telling you what is divinity? In this instance, I'm asking you, what do you identify with? Whatever you identify with, you are identical to, and that makes up your identity. Once you have an identity, this is the empowerment. This is how you walk. This is what you expect, and this is what actually happens to you. The only thing that can happen to you is what your identity is. Cats don't get what dogs get. Dogs don't get what fish get. Fish don't get what birds get. Everybody's identity attracts to it, what it is. Human beings, we have the gift of consciousness. So what we perceive of ourselves is what we gonna get. Now I want to read through this real quick. Oh, and by the way, this picture here, this starts off, this is a very famous, well, there's a couple of them. I'll show you another one. But this is actually, there's several meanings to this. One is, you can see this person, this is the shaman or the student, really. This is the student who's first realizing the other dimension. This is reality as we know it. This part here is reality as we know it, okay? But here is the spirit realm, the universe, other realms, other dimensions. And when you're able to see other dimensions, you have other places that you can go. You're not stuck in the world with the world's problems and the world's this and the world's stress and that. You don't have to deal with that when you can pop your head outside of this material reality and see an entirely different way to go. That's real. That's just as real as this material reality. This is the beginning of philosophy. This is the beginning of true philosophy. To be able to see reality directly. To be able to touch reality directly. Not the symbols of reality. not the meaning of reality, but reality itself. Can you get outside of the paradigm? This is like your grade school thinking. You know, can you get out of kindergarten in first grade and second grade? Christopher Columbus discovered America. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, not even freed human beings, but freed slaves. All that's keeping you trapped. This is my parents were slave owners and I'm guilty. My parents were slaves and I feel worthless. My parents lost their land and lost everything. I feel ashamed. My parents bombed everybody, killed everybody. All that's in here. All that's here. This is all what you taught. All that here. Can you pop your head out of that stupidity for 5 seconds so that you can see what is real? That's what this picture means. Here you go. It's another version of it, another look at it. Here's reality as we know it. And here's the shaman priest sticking his head out of it. This is the purpose of philosophy, and that's what I want to start with here today. We're talking about the I, identity. What does it mean to identify? What are you identical with, the same as? Well, we are philosophers. We identify with the truth. We identify with wisdom. We identify with knowledge. Knowledge is our identity. What's your name? Knowledge, reigning supreme. That's my identity. We identify with that. What is philosophy then? You know, we got the Oxford always up here as well. You might not be able to read this here, but I'll walk you through it. Philosophy in the original and widest sense, right? What is philosophy? The love, study, or pursuit of wisdom, or the knowledge of things and their causes, whether theoretical or practical. Now, usually when I have this up, and I'm going fast because the people who are, those of us that have studied this, you've seen me teach in this way. You know that we pull up the Oxford English because Oxford English is the authority on the, or one of the authorities on the English language. It deals with words etymologically. It deals with the first time the word was said in English language. It deals with the original and obsolete meanings of words, which is what we also want to know. This speak that I'm speaking right here, this talk is called American. Matter of fact, this talk is called Ebonics. We ain't even reached the level of being called American. Black people talking, they call it Negro. Okay, that's actually the name of our language. It's called Negro. It's been changed to Black English. Some call it Black Vernacular English. Some call it Ebonics. But it's not American English. Is what the way Black folks speak is not considered American English, which basically is white American English. Now, even white American English, which is called proper English. Could you get that? Did you hear me say that? Okay. White American English, which is called proper English. You're not speaking proper English because you're not articulating yourself according to the Chicago Book of Style, according to how these folks talk, okay? That's called white American English. But even that is not British English. Okay, you go over to Britain talking about I speak English, they'll smack you around a couple of times and tell you, oh no, you don't speak English. You speak American. Okay, and this is important to make sure you understand that as well. When you get to Britain, they are really speaking English. Okay, but then you go further because even British English that they're speaking right now is not even Old English. Somebody will come up and say, oh, no. Here is Old English, and Old English sounds like an entirely different language, okay? But all of that, Old English, Middle English, Modern English, British English is in the Oxford English Dictionary. That's why we pull it up, so that there's no confusion. about what we talking about and where the scholarship is coming from. There's no confusion. We taking it straight to Britain, and we have other dictionaries as well, like the American Heritage Dictionary, the shorter Oxford Dictionary, and others as well. I'm gonna have to call all these dictionaries, but we start here. So I'll give you that little piece, just in case those of you who are just watching us or just tuning in to these type of sessions. You know, I don't always get to do a PowerPoint, but because I'm kind of makeshift right now, this is my planned lesson, but it's not the way I was going to deliver it to you. I had a more organized way of delivering it to you, but the internet's bugging out, so I have to give it to you this way, with the housekeeper banging on the door and me having to do a show in a couple of hours. Let's get through this. So here's philosophy. What is philosophy? Philosophy is the love, study, or pursuit of wisdom, or the knowledge of things and their causes, whether theoretical or practical, okay? The Oxford English Dictionary defines philosophy as the love, study, and pursuit of wisdom, as well as having knowledge of things and their causes, whether theoretical or practical. Philosophy, then, is the pursuit of wisdom, okay? You get this? Philosophy, then, is the pursuit of wisdom, or the love of wisdom. Wisdom in the same book is defined as the capacity of judging rightly in matters relating to life and conduct, soundness of judgment in the choice of means and ends. That's what it means to be wise, to be able to make right choices. And this is what philosophy gives you: wisdom, which helps you to make the right choices in life, to know what is right and what is wrong, what is fake and what is real, what is destructive and what is creative. You have to have this discernment in order to make the right decisions in life. And this is what philosophy offers us. Here's wisdom. Here's wisdom. And it starts off here, back to the Oxford wisdom. And this is the etymology. You notice here, this is all the etymology. I'm not going to get into this. I don't have a longer time today to get in, but normally I would break this all down. You see, they show you where wisdom comes. It says the obsolete form of wise, the Scandinavian form of wish. They even have wizard, early form of wizard. You know, all of this is the word wisdom, where the word wisdom is coming from. It's all of this. But here's what we want, okay? Down here, wisdom, the quality or character. The quality or character of being wise. The character. This is back to the I, you know what we're talking about. The character of being wise, or something in which this is exhibited, meaning the chair is wise. Why? Because it's a chair and it's being what it is. The chair has a quality of being wise. The chair is making the right decision. It's wise to sit in the chair. You know, you made the right, if you're tired, of course, or whatever. You know, it's wise to sit in the chair. Capacity of judging rightly in matters relating to life and conduct. Soundness of judgment in the choice of means and ends, sometimes less strictly sound sense, especially in practical affairs. Opposite to folly. The opposite of folly is wisdom. Being able to make the right choice, especially in practical affairs. Okay, being soundness of judgment, being able to judge soundly, making right decisions. This is what wisdom is. And wisdom is not something that you can learn. I mean, you can learn it now because we got it up on the screen. But when you really see this, this is not something academic. This is not an intellectual exercise. This is not a scholarly thing. This is a character. You don't have to even know what wisdom means to be wise. To be wise simply means I know what's real from what's fake. I know what's right from what is wrong, and I act upon it. I'm a wise man. I'm a wise woman. I act on the right decisions. If you can't make the right decisions in life, you fail. And that's why so many people are failing, because they're not making the right decisions. Why are so many people winning? Because they made the right decision. If you can't make the right decision, you fail. You suffer in what you've made the wrong decision in. But guess what? At any time, you can make the right decision and escape the whole situation. Just make the right decision. But you got to know what the right decision is. This is wisdom, having or exercising sound judgment or discernment, capable of judging truly concerning what is right or fitting, and disposed to act accordingly. You know what's right and fitting, and you act like it. Having the ability to perceive and adopt the best means for accomplishing an end. You have the ability to perceive and adopt the best means for accomplishing an end. But characterized by good sense and prudence. That's the character of wisdom. Good sense, prudence, discipline, judgment, discernment. This is it. Here's more wisdom. Skillfully, cleverly, ingeniously, cunningly. They say the serpent was wise. Wise man. Formally, now look at this. Formally, often as one word or with hyphen. The surname Wiseman, that's a surname. A man who is wise, a man of good judgment or discernment, a discreet or prudent man. Okay, now I want to show you this down here. Ironically applied to a fool or simpleton. Now, look at this. I just want to point this part out to you real quick. One of the reasons why the Oxford English Dictionary is also good to look at when you're looking at the etymology of words, when you're looking at the history of words and the creation of words, you'll notice that the Oxford English Dictionary also documents the biases of English culture. It documents its racism, it documents sexism, classism, it documents its feelings about other groups of people, like outside of all the isms I just mentioned, like etymologically, they don't even mention the word African in this book. Okay, we're back. That was a nice commercial break, right? Obviously, like I said, this is all makeshift right now. We're making this up as we go right now, and the internet is wilding out here in Chicago land. Thank you for bearing with us. I would turn to your gospel and say, read Perform Patience at this particular moment. You may want to do some extra homework on that. But I thank you for being patient with us. So we're back, and we're going to continue our lesson. Let's continue. So philosophy is the one place where distinctions must be made between true and false, real and illusion, as well as right and wrong, so that the correct decisions can be made in one's life. Basically, you study philosophy so you get the decisions in your life. That's what we were talking about. You study philosophy to become wise, meaning judging rightly in matters relating to life and conduct. Soundness of judgment in the choice of means and ends. That's what we just read. That's what we just read. And I want to, and this is what I'm emphasizing. What are we talking about? Identity. What you identify with. How do you find identity? Being wise. What is wisdom? Being able to make the right choices. Making the right choices in life leads to success. Making the wrong choices in life leads to failure. This is so simple. Wisdom is a character, not a study or a pursuit. And what I was getting ready to say before our commercial break was that Oxford English, it records its own biases. And just before I cut off, what was said was they don't even have the word African in the Oxford English Dictionary. The word African is not there. And many African words that have come into English language are not listed as African. They either take the credit, and Native American words too, they either take the credit for themselves, or you got to really dig further to find out where this word originally came from. So, of course, I'm not criticizing the Oxford English Dictionary, but you got to know what you're reading as well. Why do I bring this? Because they have their sexism in it. They have their racism in it. The classism, the English elite aristocratic colonialism is all in the book. Now, Oxford has since then corrected itself. Yes, it has. But the original knowledge is still there for you to go back and look. And that's why Oxford does get some credit, because they didn't try to hide it. I mean, they tried to hide a bunch of other things, but they didn't really try to hide this. And whether you say, well, that's because they still who they are, or they want to speak the truth, we benefit from seeing what it really was. So when we say words like wisdom, were the English really wise like that? Were they making the right decisions? You could say, yes, they are successful. But successful how? With bombs and guns, imperialism and colonialism and slavery? Was this really successful? Was this really wise? Wisdom is a character, not a study or a pursuit. Those that study wisdom do not become wise, just as those that pursue wisdom never attain it. You see, when you're studying philosophy and studying identity, you got to ask yourself, who's giving me my identity? Who's telling me about divinity? Where am I getting these concepts from? And chances are you're getting them from a person who wants to keep you under them. Chances are the vision you have of God in your mind is really only the vision of a slave owner, or the symbol of their authority over you. This is going to be hard to deal with, because what we think is God is the devil, and what we think is the devil is actually God. This is what this society has done to us. It has reversed everything So we are confused. We run toward what will kill us and run from what will help us. Wisdom is a character, not a study or a pursuit. Those that study wisdom do not become wise, just as those that pursue wisdom never attain it. Wisdom begins as a character that knows right from wrong, real from fake, reality from illusion. Wisdom is the character of the wise. And underline, see the word underline, character. Wisdom is the character of the wise. It is a moral skill, not a study. You either have it or you don't. You see, people think they can just gain wisdom. No, wisdom is a character that knows right from wrong and acts on it. Is murdering people right? Is stealing from people right? Is lying to people right? Deceiving people right? If you think these things are right, you definitely are not wise. Nobody wants to be stolen from. Nobody wants their property taken. Nobody wants to be murdered before their time. Nobody wants to be lied to and deceived. How can this be good? Wisdom knows right from wrong. Most people ain't wise because they don't even know what right is. They don't know what right from wrong. Think about that for a minute. Wisdom is a character. Wisdom is the character of the wise. It is a moral skill, not a study. You either have it or you don't. Here's moral, okay? Moral. Of or pertaining to character or disposition, considered as good or bad, virtuous or vicious, of or pertaining to the distinction between right and wrong or good and evil in relation to the actions, volitions, or character of responsible beings. Ethical. This is what moral means, to be moral. Morality. This is what morality means. Of or pertaining to character or disposition considered as good or bad, virtuous or vicious. See, you got to know what character, good or bad, okay? Virtuous or vicious. Pertaining to the distinction between right and wrong. This is what moral is. Good and evil in relation to actions, one's volitions, their characters. What are we talking about when we say moral? We're talking about the character of responsible beings, ethical. This is what's creating your identity. This is what the eye needs to eat right now. The eye needs to eat. Not only do your two eyes need to eat this, but your eye needs to eat this right now. What is morality? Treating of or concerned with virtue and vice, or the rules of right conduct as a subject of study. Morality as a subject of study. You can't study morality. You know what's right and you know what's wrong. But when you live in a colonial society that has to justify its wrongs as rights, that's when you get to a study. You have to study what's right. Why do you have to study what's right? You know what's right. Even criminals know what's right. And they know what they're doing is wrong. You know it. But when you live in a criminal society, you got to justify wrong. Now we got to study it. As a man thinketh, here's the book. You know, I put this on you often because we're talking about I and the power of I and identity. What do you identify with? Here's As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, classic book. One of the first books I read when I was just starting out on the path. I was about 12 years old. This is one of the books I read at 12. Changed my life. The aphorism, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, not only embraces the whole of a man's being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of his life. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. His character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. What is character? The complete sum of all your thoughts. What you are thinking what you identify with, the complete sum of your thoughts. That's your character. That's your identity. What do you identify with? What are you one with? What are you the same as? As the plant springs from and could not be without the seed, so every act of man springs from the hidden seeds of thought and could not have appeared without them. This applies equally to those acts called spontaneous and unpremeditated as to those which are deliberately executed. So whether these thoughts are spontaneous, whether these occurrences that happen to you are spontaneous or you planned them, is still all your thinking. Your thoughts are the seeds of the circumstances of your life. Your identity is what you are experiencing your own identity in life. Act is the blossom of thought. Your actions. Act is the blossom of thought, and joy and suffering are its fruits. Thus does a man garner in the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry. This is a poetic writing, but what you think, you're in the garden of your own thinking. Thought in the mind. This is a quote. Thought in the mind hath made us. What we are by thought was wrought and built. If a man's mind hath evil thoughts, pain comes on him as comes the wheel, the ox behind. This is a quote based on what the author is trying to say. I'm gonna skip that. Here we go. But you understand this. Actions follow thought. Man is a growth by law and not a creation by artifice. And cause and effect is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as in the world of visible and material things. I underline this part. A noble and godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance, but is the natural, so you see the word natural, result of a continued effort in right thinking. This is it. I'm going to say it again. A noble and godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance, but is the natural result of continued effort in right thinking. Right thinking is a natural result. You either have this or you don't. Most of you on this call right now, you have this. Because you on this call, this is your natural, you're looking for knowledge. You're identifying with knowledge, and then deeper than that, you're identifying with hip hop on this level. Just because you identify with what we are teaching here, that makes you the teaching. I'm only a conduit to your true self. I'm confirming the true you, but only you can be the true you. If you're listening to me right now, you are divine, because all we're talking about is divinity, godlike thoughts. The effect of long cherished association with godlike thoughts and ignoble and bestial character by the same process is the result of the continued harboring of groveling thoughts. Look at this, and I just spoke about this. Man, this line is so important. We just talked about slavery and what you think of yourself. Look, a noble and godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance, but is the natural result of continued effort in right thinking. The effort of long cherished association with godlike thoughts. Long cherished association with godlike thoughts. This is your movement. This is what you want. This is what makes you happy. This is what's on your mind all the time. Divinity, God, hip hop. And ignoble and bestial character. This is the other side now, okay? by the same process, is the result of the continued harboring of groveling thoughts. They didn't even say evil thoughts. They said groveling. I ain't nobody. I'm never gonna be nothing. He better than me. Oh, he's this. He could do it because he that. I'm just me. I'm not really groveling. Please help me. Groveling thoughts, begging all the time. This is what takes you away from God. Man is either made or unmade by himself. In the armory of thought, he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. He also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. By the right choice and true application of thought, man ascends to the divine perfection. Do you hear this? Ascends to divine perfection. How do you get there? By the right choice, wisdom, and true application of thought. Man ascends to the divine perfection. Here's the opposite. By the abuse and wrong application of thought, he descends below the level of the beast. This is the law. This is it. He descends below the level. The beast has more morality than you. The beast is more godlike than you. People don't even realize this. They walking around less than animals. You act like an animal. That's a compliment. Actually, you acting beastie. Beastie Boys. You know, that's a compliment. And shout out to the Beastie Boys too. But that's a compliment. No, they say when you groveling, your wrong application of thought, you're below the beast. Because the beast is at least being beast. You not being God. Oh man. When God is not God, God is below beast because God is the only thing God can be. So when you not God, what are you? You're not even a devil. The devil's being the devil. Everybody being what they're supposed to be. You God and not God. That means you outside of your identity. You have no I. You have no inner, no core. Between these two extremes are all the grades of character. And man is their maker and master. All of the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul, which have been restored and brought to light in this age, none is more gladdening or fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this. Here's the thought. That man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny. End quote. Let's hit this one more time. Man is, and we say man, we're not talking about males. We're talking about humans. But this is how this poetry speaks. This really speaks. They should have capitalized man, because this is how they used to speak when they said man. Man represented everybody. And that was some sexist craziness too. But English, okay, that man, humans, is the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny. Hip hop has proven this. We have proven this outright. As a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the Lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation and contains within himself the transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself what he wills. Here's the last part. Man is always the master, even in his weakness and most abandoned state. But in his weakness and degradation, he is the foolish master who misgoverns his household. When he begins to reflect upon his condition and search diligently for the law upon which his being is established, he then becomes the wise master, directing his energies with intelligence and fashioning his thoughts to fruitful issues, such as the conscious master. And man can only thus become by discovering within himself the laws of thought, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self-analysis, and experience. Only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds obtained, and man can find every truth connected with his being if he will dig deep into the mind of his soul, and that he is the maker of his character, the molder of his life, and the builder of his destiny. He may unerringly prove if he will watch, control, and alter his thoughts, tracing their effects upon himself, upon others, and upon his life and circumstances, linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation, and utilizing his every experience, even to the most trivial, everyday occurrence, as a means of obtaining that knowledge of himself, which is understanding, wisdom, and power. In this direction, as in no other, is the law absolute, that he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. For only by patience, practice, and ceaseless importunity can a man enter the door of the temple of hip-hop. It says the temple of knowledge here. Only by this is it. And this is important to our lesson because look, if you have not gained some of this within our reading, you can't enter the temple of hip hop. You can say you entered with your mouth and with your head in your own fantasy, but to really enter, you got to control your thoughts. You got to mold your character. You got to know that you are creating the environment by which you enter and have experiences. So again, the love, study, and pursuit of wisdom is a character, not just a study. In fact, it is actually the philosophical character that reveals the study. Your character reveals what you're going to learn. It is the living of the sage's life that reveals wisdom and the power, while the pursuit of wisdom and or power only proves that you do not possess them or that they are naturally foreign to you. Look at what I just said. It is the living of the sage's life that reveals wisdom and the power, while the pursuit, see, that's not living the life. The pursuit of something is not the living of it. While the pursuit of wisdom and or power only proves that you do not possess them or that they are naturally foreign to you, like it was to the Greeks. The pursuit of something is not the something that is being pursued, just as the love of something is not the something being loved. Philo and Sophie is what they, Greeks, saw as the character of enlightened, sunburnt beings who obviously loved learning. For these ancient beings, what the Greeks were calling philosophy or philosophy or love of wisdom, for the ancients was more accurately love and wisdom, the balance between the heart and the mind, the emotions and the intellect, reason and intuition. The ancients saw what is called philo and sophie as justice, the balance of all things. In Kemet, Egypt, this was called ma'at. This balance, which was expressed as a certain character, then led to the deification of the sage, which was the ultimate point to the knowing of oneself. It was to achieve union with the mind of the universe and nature. Those that are constantly on the run or at war with themselves and others have no time for the principles of philosophy. Skills like astronomy, agriculture, architecture, writing, weaving, cloth making, pottery, etc., all took hundreds of years, hundreds of years of development. You understand that? Hundreds of years to develop these. Such skills in and of themselves is older than Greece and the Greek people themselves. We're talking about the origins of philosophy. And I got to point this out because we say, where are you getting your God from? Where are you getting your sense of divinity from? Where are you getting your idea of philosophy even from? What is your identity? How do you make it? We're talking about that right here. Here's Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James, an author who many believe was killed for writing this. Rest in peace. But here's the writing. I opened the book up. We're going to read from both sides here as well. You can see the open book here. Let me blow this up a little bit. This is the other side of the book, Stolen Legacy. It says, it is obvious from a study of the causes and effects of Peloponnesian wars that, 1, the Greek states were envious of each other, and B, or that's A, but B, the desire for power and expansion led to constant aggression and warfare amongst themselves. The condition of constant warfare between the city-states was unfavorable for the production of philosophy. Before passing on to consider my next proposition, I would like to say that it is an accepted truth that the development of philosophical thought requires an environment which is free from disturbance and worry. The period commonly assigned to Greek philosophy, Thales to Aristotle, was exactly the opposite to one of peace and tranquility, and therefore it could not be expected to produce philosophy. The obstacles against the origin and development of Greek philosophy were not only the frequency of civil wars and the constant defense against Persian aggression, but also the threat of extermination from the Athenian government itself, its worst enemy. The worst enemy to Greek philosophy was the Athenian Greek government. Okay, they were killing philosophers constantly. I wrote a rhyme about this on an album called Edutainment years ago. But the philosophy in and of itself is a character. It's not a study. That's the point here. It's a character. And there were first philosophers. It had nothing to do with race, skin color. It had to do with your character. And so if you had the certain character of a philosopher, you belong to this philosopher group. And these people did come together and create some magnificent inventions like language and writing and mathematics and art. This is what philosophers do. This is what people who have no worries and are not fighting amongst themselves, this is what they can produce. This is what hip-hopia is. This is what hip-hopia was. This is what we call hip-hopia. The times when our ancient ancestors, and not ancient Black ancestors, ancient ancestors, those with the character of the first thinkers, the first philosophers, those with the artist character, not the warrior character, the hunter-gatherer character, no. The artist character, that's our ancestors. Not whether you Black or white or red or yellow, or you African, European, that's all colonial bullshit. The truth is, your real history is the history of your character, your traits, and your talents. They all come from somewhere. They all have lineage to them. And so you got to know what we're dealing with is a stolen legacy. That's why we got this book up right here. The colonists came in and took our legacy for their own, but they're only costuming it. They're not the real people. Once we put the real clothes on, we become the real people. We the ones who identify with what is right and what is wrong. You can clearly see, with all due respect to all governments, especially the United States government, and I say with due respect, you still don't know how to govern. You could be the government all day. The real actions of the government prove that you are unable to govern. Look at these senators. Look at these governors. Look at these mayors. Look at these council people. Look at all these people in government, in justice, in the courts, in the executive branch, in Congress, everywhere. No one has or seems to have the ability to govern, yet you in a governing situation. So no disrespect, we just talking the truth. And we know what's right. We know what's real from what is fake. We know what's right from what is wrong. So if we're going to talk truth for real, Hiphopia is the place where we finally become a crimeless society. Crimeless. Do you realize that if 10 of us got together and said we're not doing no crimes with each other, that's the one, what makes you a citizen here is that you don't do no crimes. You're not aggressively trying to destroy or get over on your brother and sister. And we're going to teach our children this. We all as parents make a commitment to teach our children how to be crimeless. If 10 of us got together and did that, we control the entire world. And not that I'm trying to do that. Who wants that job? But as a metaphor, there'd be nothing that could stop us. We'd be on top of everything just by being a crimeless society. If those 10 people got together and decided to be a crimeless society, opened a city called Hiphopia, we live amongst ourselves and raise our children to be crimeless. After a while, you got 100 people willing to be crimeless. 200 people, now 1,000 people willing to be crimeless. This is what we need. This is Hiphopia. This is what we have to get to over the next 20 years. We have to get there as hip hop. I'm not interested in what everybody else is doing. I'm not interested in whether we need to vote or not. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in, can we just get together, 20 of us, and say we're going to love one another? We're going to look out for each other's health, love, awareness, and wealth. This is our law. This is the only law we got. Health, love, awareness, and wealth. And let us all just stay on that. 20 people, are you with me? Can we do this? You may say, yeah, now, and then get out there and find that being crimeless is difficult. Being crimeless requires discipline. Being crimeless requires wisdom. So I'm pointing out here that Greece, ancient Greece, could not have started philosophy, and they didn't. Greece preserved probably the thoughts of philosophy. Because, and not even them, actually I have to say the Arabs, well, people who are called Arabs, so see, that's a whole nother thing too, that the original people that were doing all of this was a people that we don't even speak about no more because they all broke up. They were African, they were Arab, they were Hindu, they were this. Now, because of racism and institutional racism itself, now we only think that the ancient Greeks were white people. That's just totally incorrect. Ancient Greece and Rome were multicultural societies. In fact, there was none of this separation of races and of people back in the Mediterranean, in the ancient parts of the Mediterranean. I don't have time to get into that right here, but my point is that not only being wise requires that you know what is real from what is fake, but being wise has to do with your character. And people who are running around robbing people, stealing and arguing amongst themselves cannot produce philosophy, cannot produce astronomy, agriculture, cooking techniques, clothing and weaving techniques. You can't do that. You're always on the run. So who are the original philosophers? They're not even Black people. They may have been Black people, but only in character can we say they were the first hip-hoppers or hip-hoppians or the first thinkers, the true human beings. This is a character. This is not a race. Or if it is a race, it's a race of character. It's a bloodline. And you got to ask yourself, do I possess the bloodline? Forget a black, a white, a red, or yellow. Do I feel like I want the truth? Do I feel like I want knowledge? Do I pursue with my money and my time and my mind? Do I pursue what is divine? If that's you, then you part of these first people who were really seeking God and seeking what it is. Okay, let me go forward with this real quick. I'm gonna have to speed this up. Let me come right here and give you this. Plotinus defines, this is another philosopher, defines this experience as the liberating. And wait, let me go back. What is the experience? Oh, okay, I see. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me read this first part to you. The earliest theory of salvation is the Egyptian theory. And that's not altogether true, but the evidence points to it. There is evidence for it. The earliest theory of salvation is the Egyptian theory, or the Kemetic theory. The Egyptian mystery system had at its most important object the deification of man. This was the beginning of it right here, okay? The deification, man becoming God. The deification of man, and taught that the soul of man, if liberated from its bodily fetters, meaning your cravings and senses, looking only through your eyes and the five senses and all of that stuff, from his bodily fetters, could enable him to become godlike. There's that word again, godlike. And see the gods in this life and attain the beatific vision, beautiful vision, and hold communion with the immortals. This is what ancient people knew they was able to do. This was not a dream. This was not something that was never attained. The ancients saw others attain this. And this is why it became a study, not even a study. This is why it became a practice, which is what we call a study. It became a practice to be deified. You had to walk a certain way, miracle, and not even miracle, just the reality of your existence had to be plain for everyone to see. And they said, there's God right there. And imagine a community where we're all recognizing the divinity within ourselves. Namaskar, namaste. The Christ in me recognizes the Christ in you. The God in me recognizes the God in you. We don't even talk like that no more. Hip hop does. Big up to the 5%ers on some other mission over there. But that idea of peace, God, oh man, come on. Hip hop's going to adopt that one. Same thing with the cipher. We're going to go ahead and snatch that sample, because we do greet each other as gods and as goddess. Even today, most women are just taking the term God. And I would look at the etymology of that real quick, because a goddess is the only deity in English language. God is a superhuman being in English language. But let's put that to the side for a minute. We're talking about divinity across the board, whether you say God, goddess, whatever, divinity across the board. That's what we're talking about. You have the right to be God, especially if you're from God. If you're in God, you are God. If you're outside of God, that's when you have to question. Are you in God or are you outside of God? Does your presence, does your character match identically with God? Are you the same as God? Do you identify with God? This is what it is. And the choice is yours, really, or not, because only those who have the bloodline is even going to understand what I'm saying. So I want to read this first part to you. You can become godlike and hold communion with the immortals. Now we blow this up. Plotinus defines this experience as the liberation of the mind from its finite consciousness when it becomes one and is identified with the infinite. Let me say this again. When it becomes one. Do you see that? When it becomes one with, that's what we are talking about. Plotinus defines this experience, the way I just explained, the deification of man, as the liberation of the mind from its finite consciousness. When it becomes one and is, here's the word, identified with the infinite. It is identified with the infinite. How do you expand your mind? Identify yourself with the infinite. Did I just give away the secret? Oh man, forgive me. Whoever's listening, how do you become divine? How do you converse with the infinite, with the immortals? By being what? By being the same as them in character. You communicate with them in being. This is not words. These are the creators of words. So those who created words and language and writing, they're not speaking or writing. Do you hear me? The ones that create language are not the speakers. They're doing something completely different. They have another way to communicate. Then they create language. They have another way of recording the language. Then they make writing. How do you communicate with beings that don't write, don't speak, but creates writing and speaking? Don't count, but created mathematics. How do you communicate with the divine? By identifying with the divine. No word, no talk. Character. My character matches God's character. Through character, God talks to me. I should shut this whole thing off. But they should now the blackout should come, okay? Because we're pretty much done here, okay? This is it, okay? This is it. Look, this.
Can you read that one more time and say limited and unlimited instead of finite?
And let me say it. Plotinus defines this experience as the liberation of the mind from its finite consciousness when it becomes one and is unlimited. What is it?
No. I'm saying Plotinus defines this experience as the liberation of the
Get
mind.
over here, man. Get over here.
Just real quick. Plotinus defines this experience as the liberation of the mind from its limited consciousness. That's what this finite is saying. When it becomes one and is identified with the unlimited. So essentially, as a regular being, your consciousness, when you're doing regular stuff, you're limited in what you can experience. But your point is to get to the point of developing your character to where you have access to that which is unlimited, which is the infinite, which is the divine, which will then put you in the seat to have access to the immortals. Peace to the gods.
And that is so free. Limited thoughts, groveling thoughts. This is stopping you from realizing what is already there to grab and attain. It's not about words. It's about your character. It ain't about writing. It's about your character. It ain't about counting. It's about your character. It ain't about no validation. It's about your character. Do you identify with the divine? Are you the same as all the time in every circumstance, the divine? Now the divinity starts talking to you and messages come out. This liberation was not only freedom of the soul from the bodily impediments, but also from the wheel of reincarnation or rebirth. This is Buddhism. And you'll notice that the ancient Kemetic teachings are you see where Buddhism comes from. You can see it. This is at least 5,000 years before Buddha even existed. Okay, this is before Hinduism even existed. And Buddha was a Hindu. Imagine that this is ancient knowledge. Okay, this liberation was not only freedom of the soul from bodily impediments, but also from the wheel of reincarnation or rebirth. You don't got to come back here no more to learn nothing. And by the way, the ancients thought of the ancients in the original philosophy, there was no death. Imagine, this is what the colonists took away from us. There was no death in the original philosophy. They said you went to sleep and you came back to learn more lessons. But if you learned all your lessons, you don't have to come back. You can stay in bliss forever. Look at this. It involved a process of disciplines or purification. Purification, both for the body and the soul. Purifying body and soul. Since the mystery system offered the salvation of the soul, it also placed great emphasis upon its immortality, the immortality of the soul. The Egyptian mystery system, like the modern university, was the center of organized culture. See, we don't have a culture organized around divinity. We have a militaristic culture organized around work, slavery, basically. Organized culture, and candidates entered it as the leading source of ancient culture. According to Pikeman, another writer, the Egyptian mysteries had 3 grades of students. 1, the mortals, or probationary students who were being instructed but who had not yet experienced the inner vision. 2, the intelligences, those who had attained the inner vision and had received the mind, or nous. And look at this, received mind. Everybody walking around, I got a mind. That's why we did the rock star. So I said start with the rock star lecture, because that is what they call mind. It's like when you got to the mystery system, the first thing was, you see something on the wall, and they say it to yourself. And you would receive mind. You would say, I get it. That's it. And like most who have saw the rock star lecture or saw the what is called fifth dimensional or whatever it was, when you understood what I was teaching, there was an moment that occurred. And that right, that's mind. You received your mind. You know that there's now an inner you that can talk, see, and hear without these physical senses. This is level 2. The intelligences, those who had attained inner vision and right, and had not received mind yet. Now you're gonna get it. Actually, it should be 3 probably. But and let me say this too. I'm paraphrasing because I know more about this. This is not what's written here, actually. I mean, I'm saying what's written, but this is only one interpretation of how you enter the mystery system. And they're paraphrasing it as well as to how you do it. So that's why I'm kind of stumbling over this, but you're getting the point to it real quick, the stages in which one would enter into the mystery system and become God. We can't even think like this right now because we're so duped into believing that the concept of God is a white man in the sky with a long beard. You may say, I don't believe that, but when you really go deep, that's exactly what you believe. That's exactly what you believe. And your actions show it. You don't believe that God is within you and you can express that God as God. You really don't believe that. Why? Because you're groveling before Mr. Charlie. Would God grovel? Would God worry about whether she had a job or not? Would God worry about whether she was good enough or not? Would God worry that she wasn't prepared? No. God is God. And do you feel that way? Well, I do. So let's keep going. the intelligences, those who had attained the inner vision and had received mind or nous. And 3, the creators or sons of light who had become identified. That's it. Identified with or united with the light, or i.e., true spiritual consciousness. Okay? Identify. This is the word we're going to keep coming back to here. Now, I can stop here because this now gets ready to go into a different piece about real and what is real and this kind of thing. I'm not going to do that lecture. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this up right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you 2 things before we get to the gospel, or 1 thing before we get to the gospel. I just want to come here and read you this real quick. This is out the teacher's manual again, but it goes with this. I want to show you this right here. This is what we're talking about. Identity, identification, the I in I. What is the I that is in I? It is God. It is spiritual consciousness. It is when you realize that you are more than body. You are the light within it. You are the conscious being in it, the hip of the hop. When you realize this, you transform your environment. You transform it. And this is what's so important. Because you can't think you're stuck in your situation, is what I'm trying to say. You're not stuck in your situation, especially if you don't identify with it. That uncomfortable feeling you feeling about the situation you're in is because you don't identify with it. You don't identify with it. So you got to ask yourself, what do I identify with? Because most of us just stop right there. I don't identify with that. And then you sad, or you angry, or you're anxious, or you're because I don't identify. But you got to go further. That was good. I don't identify with that. So what do you identify with? You can't just say, I don't identify with this. You got to say, I don't identify with this, but I do identify with this. Now you got forward movement. I identify with this. I am identical to this. This is my identity. This is what I am the same as all the time in every situation. This is what I am, who I am, where I am, why I am. When you get to that, you get to changing your reality. And that's what they're talking about. And this is what hip hop has already proven. You've heard me say this before. I'm going to give it to you again. Here it is. Being hip to one's hop, knowing why we were moving like we were moving deliberately and naturally, even unconsciously, according to our innate hip hop awareness, and not according to the environment presented to us in the 1970s and 1980s. This is what saved us. This is the work right here of the gods. This is what freed us from the oppression and blatant injustice we face all day, everywhere in New York during these times. We simply became the answers to the challenges we face. We realized in the face of blatant injustice that if you can become anything that you need to become to defeat or escape such injustices, then such injustices are not injustices at all. Such injustices become the springboards by which you catapult your real being into existence. Adversity, hard times, and disappointments, they all vanish when you can simply become the answers you need. This is what real hip hop did for us. In the face of blatant injustice and oppression, we simply became the answers we needed. This is the point. Identity, becoming. This is outside of language, symbols, math, writing. All of that. Before we get to that, the ones that created that don't speak like that. This is their creations. Who were they before they created writing? Who were they before they created math? before we looked at the stars, before we created these systems for other people to see what we could see, who were we? That's what this lesson is talking about right here. We were a people that became what we wanted to intend or express. When we loved you, we were love itself. When we wished health or was health, matter of fact, see, look at the words, wished health. No, I am health. I am love. I am awareness. I am wealth. There's no place to go. There's none of these things to get. I am this. And the manifestation of this is me. I am identical with heaven. I am identical with love. I am identical with awareness and wealth. I am identical. My name is wealth. My nature is wealth. My name is awareness. I can't be ignorant. I am awareness. I can't be hateful. I am love. This is a different thing than pursuing it, studying it, trying to get to it, representing it. Everything, but you're not it yet. When do you become the answer? This is what real hip hop did for us. In the face of blatant injustice and oppression, we simply became the answers we needed. We were not given the answers. We became the answers. We became the B-boys and the B-girls. We became the MCs. We became the DJs, the graffiti writers, the beatboxers, and so on. Nothing and no one came to us. It was we that came to us. Our being came to us, even through us. In truth, it was our being that came or became to us. Our being came to us. We, the being, came with the solutions we needed. Our being came as the solution. Our being came to us as the solution. Through our own self-expressions, breaking and seeing, graffiti writing, DJing, and beatboxing, we became the people we needed to become in order to exist outside and apart from the oppression we were facing. This was an act of being. This is an act of being. This was an act of being. This was an act of being hip to our heart or taking control as to how we were going to move in our own minds. Faced with an unjust situation that appeared to offer no way out, we simply transformed ourselves. When we transformed what we thought of ourselves, the unjust situations no longer affected us in the horrible ways that it did. Our inner view of ourselves transformed our rundown and burnt out neighborhoods into endless streams of new ideas. The Bronx in the 1970s and 1980s, is just one example, was hopeless and horribly corrupt and poverty-stricken. It was a poverty-stricken environment. But those of us living in the Bronx, enlightened by our hip-hop awareness, began to look at the Bronx not according to how it actually was and not how it was actually presented to us, but instead we modified how we saw ourselves within the Bronx. The Bronx did not change. We did. Do you understand what you can do with your mind? We change. It's we that change. The Bronx is still what it is. And get this, if the Bronx created hip hop, then when hip hop rose, the Bronx would have rose. The hip hop's $1 billion culture. Why the Bronx ain't $1 billion culture? Because hip hop didn't start in the Bronx. Did I blaspheme right there? But I'm going deeper with you, and I got to study the truth. If the Bronx created hip hop, then the Bronx would be as successful as hip hoppers. The Bronx is not, with all due respect. With all due respect, the Bronx tried to kill us. Okay, with all due respect. When we were coming up, the Bronx was a horrible place to be for young people trying to come up. And many of us didn't make it. No, the Bronx didn't create hip hop. We did. We did. Our reaction to the Bronx is what we put the hip hop on the Bronx. It was us that said, oh, this glass is broken, garbage everywhere. It smells like pee every goddamn place I go. I can't walk down the street, people trying to rob me. What do I do? I start writing rhymes. I don't see the Bronx as a place that's going to destroy me. I'm now going to transform this into a place that's going to lift me up out of here. Woo! I'm going to lift myself up by the bootstraps. This is how you levitate. This is how you levitate right here. I see the piss. Here's what I'm going to do. Broken glass everywhere. People pissing on the station like they just don't care. I can't take the noise. I can't take the smell. Or rather, I can't take the smell. I can't take the noise. Got no money to move out. I guess I got no choice. Rats in the front room. Roaches in the back. Junkies in the alley with the baseball bat. Okay? You can either sit there and be worried about that junkie in the alley with the baseball bat, or you can rhyme about this dude, get money, and never see him again. You're not hearing me. Stop groveling. Stop thinking of yourself as something you're not. I'm not good enough. I'm not prepared. The time ain't right. Nah, you're God. You are God. You create the environment in which you're going to walk into, and you command your environment. You are the creator. We just read it. You are the creator of your environment. So you ain't got no problems. Your only problem is your own ignorance. That's your problem. Your own lack of faith in yourself. And not even faith, it's really knowledge of self. Your lack of knowledge of your own self. What you think about yourself. And it's really that simple. Most of God's knowledge is that. Simple. Real simple. What do you think about yourself? What do you relate to? What do you identify with? What are you the same as in every situation all the time? I choose to be God in every situation at all times. I choose to be hip hop in every situation at all times. I identify with this. I am identical to this. And thus, I experience what I am identical with. This is why I'm teaching you right now, right here. This is why we're doing this. This is why we're doing this. You know, I ain't the type to stand around here bragging, talking about who I am. That ain't the point. The point here is I am the evidence of what I'm teaching. I am the evidence of what any teacher should be the evidence of what they teach it. But we so used to teachers talking shit, and they saying one thing and their life is doing something else. So what is that? It's why our kids don't have no respect. It's why the kids don't have no respect. You preaching Christian and you ain't living up to the Bible. You don't look like Jesus to me. You preaching Islam and you don't look like the Prophet Muhammad to me. You preaching Judaism, you preaching Bhagavad Gita, you preaching Buddha, but you don't look like these people to me. You're not coming off like that. You don't identify. You're not the same as in all situations. You are the Prophet Muhammad. Peace be unto his name. No, you're not that all the time. And probably that's why Muslims pray 5 times a day, or, devout Muslims pray 5 times a day. Because if you pray 5 times a day, then you are Muslim all day, every day, and every moment of the day. Christians don't have it like that. We say all the time, you should pray often, and in a Christian sense. But it seems like when dudes come out the church on Sunday, Monday they not Christian no more. Matter of fact, the same Sunday, you come out the church, you drive, and you don't drive like a Christian no more. People come out the synagogue with no more spirituality than when they went in. And I say all of this respectfully, but it's in the context of what we're learning here. It's in the context of what we're learning. Be true to that which you identify with. That's where the power comes. To be true with what you identify with. Turn your gospel now. I got the gospel of hip hop up. Turn your gospel now to page 639. 639. Gospel of hip hop, page 639. We're looking at track 4. We're looking at track 4 of the gospel of hip hop. And let me just bring this back. Yeah. Track 4 of the gospel of hip hop. Okay. Track 4, gospel of hip hop. What are we talking about? Identity. What do you identify with? What are you one with? What are you the same as? Rise up. You are God in God. See, now this is why you have to have your gospel. You have to have one because there are writings, the actual writing here is symbolic. So try to remember what I'm saying to you here. Try to remember what I'm saying to you. Those that don't have the gospel of hip hop, try to remember what I'm saying to you here. I'm trying to explain it, but if you have the gospel, you will notice that there is the word I, like the letter I, the capital letter I, and there are parentheses on the side of it, 4 parentheses on either side of it, as if the I is vibrating. That's the point to that I. That I is the I, the sense of self, as G. Simone would say, your source energy life force, self. Rise up, you are God in God, the I manifested, or I, the I with the parentheses. You are the I in the I, manifesting what you choose to see and call I. Did you hear that? I'm going to say it again. You are God in God, the I manifested, or I. You are the I in the I, manifesting what you choose to see and call I. You create your reality, God willing. Now here we go. This is what I was speaking about in this other piece in the what I just read to you about how the Bronx didn't change. We changed. When we changed, the Bronx changed. The Bronx actually did not change. But the only thing that's going on daily is your perception of your environment. As long as we said the Bronx was corrupt, that's all we saw. As long as we said there's no way out, there was no way out. The minute we said, nah, let's start writing on these trains and putting our name up, the Bronx transformed into an easel and a canvas. But the Bronx never changed. It's we that changed. And when we changed the Bronx. Or at least we put our impression on it. What are you trapped in right now that you can change with your godlike ability? Think about what is worrying you right now and do the opposite. That requires a faith, but have it for yourself because we're showing you straight up and down it's possible. And not only are we showing you that it's possible, I'm living it right now, telling you it's possible. I'm telling you, we are communicating with divinity. That's the only reason we can do what we do. And do it independently. And do it consistently. And do it at the top level of the field that I'm in. See, this is the part. This is the part where I say, listen, if I'm just sitting up here bragging and talking shit, turn this goddamn thing off right now. Like, you do not need that, okay? Some rapper talking about how great he is. So that's not what you need. But if it is true that I am knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everyone, the greatest rapper of all time, fuck with it. If that's not true, okay, or I was going to say, if this is the truth, if the gospel's not in my hand right now, if this is not the truth, turn it off. But if it is the truth, why are you still fronting? And you got to ask yourself that. At least, you have a book. Like some people reading the Bible, they never met Jesus. They never met Moses. They never met any of the characters of the Bible. So you got to have faith. You got to have faith. Some people go to churches and stuff, and they don't see the minister doing what the word says you could do. So you got to have faith. The temple of hip hop wasn't structured like that. God did not see fit for us to just live off faith. God said knowledge is going to reign supreme here. Knowledge, look. You don't need no faith. Look at what is going on and identify with it. How can you look and see what's going on and ignore it? And I don't identify with that. How? Imagine if I did that to myself. I see myself teaching people, inspiring hundreds. Then I turn around and go, nah, I don't. What would I be then? And I say this for you as an example to yourself. You know you inspiring people. You know what it's like when you walk outside. You see the compliments you get. You see the miracles that come on your life. You know why you here right now, because you know what I'm saying is the truth. But you still doubt. You still worry. You still stressing. You still give yourself these things. Why? Habit, maybe? Well, it's time to break that habit. It's time to mature past that. You ain't got nothing to be worried about. You God. So that's it. Decide right now how you want to live, where you want to live, who you want to live, identify with it, make it your identity, become the same as it, and it shall manifest in your life.
Am I then?
Huh?
Evidence.
Evidence.
Evident. Am I then?
Eve, ident. Who are you? Who have you decided to be? Let's continue with the I, okay? God willing. You create your reality, God willing. And that's an affirmation that operates on several levels. We always say, decree your prayer and say, God willing, because God is thinking with you. But go deeper. You are the God that's thinking with you as well. God willing. This God is willing as well. Why is this God willing? Because that God has already willed. I am the same as that God. I identify with God. That means my thoughts are God's thoughts. God willing. You are the I that is aiming or aiming, creating, manifesting, etc. Did you get that? And see, again, those with a gospel, you could look and see the coded writing right here. You are the I that is aiming. When you say I am, what is the M? You are the I that is aiming or aiming, creating, manifesting. That's what the M is. Through your physical senses. So what is your aim? Your A-I-M. Your M with the I in it. What are you aiming for? What is your I aiming? What is your I doing? What are you making? Know this, I becomes what I sees. And here's where we're going to connect to the comedic right here. I becomes what I sees. The I becomes what the I sees. Not what these eyes see. What the I sees is what the I becomes. You are what your eye sees, what it identifies with. You are what your eye sees, not what your eyes see. In many ways, you are called I-sees or ISIS. ISIS. This, the is that is, the existence that exists. Like, people don't realize existence exists. Life is intelligent. And I mean, really think about that for a minute. Imagine, think about being immersed in intelligence. And imagine being immersed in intelligence and you never talk to it. You don't even know it's there. You're like an insect. Like, sometimes insects don't even recognize you. Like, they don't even know you're there. You know, and that's how you acting, like an insect. Like, you know, and it's all based on your own mentality. You don't think that the air you're breathing is conscious in and of itself. Like, you could talk to it and say, air, I need more of you so I can think faster. You don't think the air would respond to you? And imagine, just because you don't think it, then it doesn't. But imagine if you did say, yeah, air, I need more of you. I need more of you to come into me. And it does. If you believe that it's going in, then it is, because the only thing that's happening to you is what you believe. There's 100 things going on with you right now, but you don't believe them. But they still happening. You just don't believe it, so you don't see it. The eye becomes what the eye sees. Whatever the eye sees of itself, whatever the eye is pushing out, hate, ignorance, stupidity, lust and poverty, sickness and disease, you know, whatever it is, you know, this is what the eye sees, so this is what the eye becomes. Here, the path towards spiritual awareness and existence reveals itself when you begin to see by way of your eye, and not only by way of your eyes. You are I. And look at that. You are I. You are I. And when you master your I, you master all the I. Because I is one. There's only one I, and we all share it. That's it. There's one I, we all share it. So when you master your I, you unite with everybody else's I. You can see what they see. They can see what you see if they connect. Your eye is a sight. Did you see that? Your eye is a sight, a perception, a state of being. You can see clearer with your eye than with your eyes. Your eyes are created by your eye for the purpose of seeing dualities in God, the great event. I'm not going to get into that, but that's science actually too. They say, you know, we're only using a certain amount of our brain. There's a whole bunch of things going on, but the brain is blocking reality so that we can make sense of the physical world. They say space is the construct that makes the illusion of separate things. Yeah, you got to look at this up. Look up, there's all kind of films. What the Bleak talks about it. Einstein talks about it. Brian Greer, what is it? The Elegant Universe talks about this as well. You can even check The Secret. Any of these quantum mechanic or science films will tell you, will go a little bit into the idea that what we are seeing is not the all of reality. We're only seeing fragments of reality. Remember the picture I brought up? That kind of thought. So your eyes are created. Well, let me say this again. Your eye is a sight, a perception, a state of being. You can see clearer with your eye than with your eyes. Your eyes are created by your eye for the purpose of seeing dualities in God, the great event. The eyes are the lenses of the divine eye. They are the special lenses that dim the bright light of truth and reality so that I may create the material reality I desires for I. We have eyes so that we may give form to light energy. In truth, we are playing with light. We are playing with the light that we are, actually. In truth, we are playing with the light that we are. We are playing with God, and our eyes are one of the instruments that reveal the classroom of the material world to our understanding. Your physical senses are your spiritual toys, your spiritual weapons, and your spiritual learning instruments, all wrapped up in one magnificent manifestation, which reveals itself according to the consciousness of the possessor. I is your portion of God. Did you hear that? I, the I that you have, the I that we all share, that I, the I, is your portion of God. That's your portion. Imagine, just take that in. You know what I'm saying? Take that in real quick. That you actually have a portion of God. That the mind of the universe, you're a part of that. You're a piece of God. You're a piece of divine intelligence. You're here for a reason. You make this whole thing work. Like, you don't really realize that. We say, yeah, I know I'm here for a reason. I know I'm here for a purpose. And then we conduct our lives as if that's not true. Stop for a minute and think about this. That the whole world and its function needs you. I mean, think about that. You would not be here if you were not needed to be here. Nothing in nature is a mistake. Nobody's here just here. Everything is here to balance this whole thing. We are all engaged in the balancing of the universe. We're all engaged, at least, let me say not the universe, okay? Maybe that's too much. It's true, but let's keep it to the earth. We are actually part of the balance of this planet. All of us are part of the balance of the planet. The planet knows every single one of us. While we here, what we doing, this and that. Even those that don't even know who they are here for that reason. So imagine how important you are to the grand scheme of things. Imagine how important you are. You are a portion of the universe itself. What are you doing with your portion? Worrying? Angry? What are you doing with your portion of God? Don't know you have it? Don't know you possess this? What are you doing? Working hard every day, thinking there's no way out. No, you can work hard. I work hard too. Work is a good thing, but it don't sum up my life. God is what I identify with. So one day we're at the top floor in a nice suite, eating the crazy, drinking the crazy. Then next day we're at the Motel 6 and there's a Denny's across the street because there's nothing around for miles. Who are you with, the hotel or God? I've seen recording artists break down because they got to go to Motel A, Super A. They got to go to Super A. They mad. Oh, man, I'm supposed to be. So you came all the way to the show to what? To be in a hotel? No, I came to the show to rock the crowd. If there's a crowd there, that's why I don't care. I can sleep on the floor. Okay? And some nights, to keep it real. Keep it really real. And I'm talking about just like a couple of months ago, we was in some spots. My daughter didn't even want to take her clothes off. Get the banners. We was in some spots, okay? But we just found ourselves there. And we don't care. Who are you here for? What do you identify with? You're a platinum recording artist, headliner artist. Can you sleep in the back of a van? Still? Yeah, you can. Especially if you, sure. Who are you here for? What are you here for? What's the point? What do you identify with? Let's continue. I is your portion of God. So what are you creating? Seeing and accepting. That's the parentheses. When we say creating, what does that mean? What are you seeing and accepting? What are you creating with your portion of God? What is your I becoming? Ask yourself right now, my I is what? What is it? You should probably go away and write that down. Write on a piece of paper, I. And not even I am, it's just I. What is the definition of your I? Like, what is its real name even? What is its real function? What does it really want? What does it really need? Have you ever asked that? Well, now's the time. Now's the time. Might be the time for you to ask yourself, who am I? Why am I? These are the deeper questions that lead to your immortality. Ask yourself right now, my I is what? I am what? What am or aim is I doing? That's the second part. I would say, don't even put the am on it yet. Just what is I? Then you come here. I am what? What am or aim is I doing? What is the I in your I creating for the I, or rather you? Did you see the poetry? Did you see the poetry? Here's the poetry. What is the I in your I creating for the I, or rather you? What you give comes back to you. Why again? Just like I said, why is the letter I, which is the 9th letter of the alphabet, the first letter, equated with the letter, the number 1? I asked that. The same way I asked about the U. A U is shaped like something that comes back. And we say make a U-turn, meaning go back. But the same sound U is spelled Y-O-U. It's almost like yo with the U on it. It's like yo, like you gonna get what yo is. Whatever yo is, that you reverses it back to you. So it's like, what is the I in the I creating for the I, or rather the you? Okay, what are you creating for yourself? Well, my I creates and sustains hip hop. Before hip hop became what it is today, my I saw it. And when I perceived the thought of my I, my 2 eyes were opened. And notice it's two, I wrote 2 eyes. Here we go. My two eyes were open. Look at the two eyes. There is the I that I perceive as a conscious being, and then there is the I that I am in God. The I in I. When I perceived hip hop, both of those eyes were open, not even these eyes. The I in the I was open, and my eyes were open. One is a creator, the other is created. The I in I. The creator of the created. The spiritual I within the mind's eye, which directs the physical eyes. This duality creates the sight of our eyes and the perceptions of our minds. However, in truth, there is no separation in I. I creates what happens to I. I does what is happening to I. But for I to truly understand the spiritual manifestations of I must live what I create. That's the point. I has no mouth. I has no writing. For I to communicate, I has to, the circumstance, the environment itself has to define the I, for the I. The I has no other way of seeing itself other than the manifestation of the environment, which is the I. The inner is what is creating the outer. Your inner view is what is your outer view, your outer environment. So for the I to see itself, it doesn't see itself with the two eyes, it sees itself in its environment, which the two eyes confirm. Your two eyes are here to confirm the I. The eye can't see itself other than in its environment. Two eyes confirm that what the eye is seeing is real. But is it really real? Because the eye is creating it. Oh, man. What is real? And that's what we were going to talk about, real, but I'm not getting into that, right now. But what is real? You create reality. What is reality? The domain of whatever is real. That's what reality is, Reality is the domain of a real thing. Anything that's real gives off a reality. If you fake, you can't control reality. Why? You're not real. If you real, that realness creates a reality. The reality confirms that you're real. Your environment confirms your convictions, your truth, your realness. Your environment confirms it. And your environment is not just your physical environment. We're talking about the situations and circumstances of your life too. That's an environment. We're talking about your body of knowledge. That's an environment. The vision you have of yourself, that's an environment. Hip-hop, hip-hopia is an environment. Where am I? Right here. This duality, I'm on paragraph 209. This duality creates the sight of our eyes and the perception of our minds. However, in truth, there is no separation in I. I creates what happens to I. I does what is happening to I. But for I to truly understand the spiritual manifestations of I must live what I creates. And the living of one's creations without the knowledge of one's true self-nature in God begins one's habitual bondage to one's own creations and the beginning of the I's spiritual blindness and misery. The I no longer sees. The I no longer is. That's what this was talking about. Not this, as a man thinketh, the other piece that we was reading, sinking below the level of the beast. What the I becomes is what the I is told. If the I accepts the title of black or white or red or brown or yellow as its personal racial identity, then that is what the I becomes. Look how deep the mental slavery goes. I becomes what I thinks, and what the I thinks creates physical reality for the I. Hip hop is evidence of the power of the I. Hip hop is evidence of this. The Bronx did not change, the I did. I is God, and M is what God is doing. The expression of I is its M. Hip hop is a creation of what the I am doing. Not I am is doing. Hip hop is a creation of the I am doing. I, God, am manifesting hip hop law. This is a double sentence. I, God, am manifesting hip hop law. The God, the manifesting, and the law part are in parentheses. So you can read this double sentence like this. Here's one. I am hip hop. That's without the parentheses. Here's now with the parentheses only. God manifesting law. This is what I am hip hop means. This is part of it, at least. This is the deeper part of it. I am hip hop. God manifesting law. I am the manifestation of the law. What is the law? My condition. What is your condition, hip hop? Hip hop is the law of every hip hopper's life. It is the condition of the hip hopper. It is what we allow ourselves to be. Hip hop is the law of our lives. It is our way. Others are governed by other laws and ways and conditions, but hip hop is our law and way and condition. And we must never break our own laws. For the breaking of our own laws is the destruction of our own being. You know we preach law around here. We're looking for a crimeless society. Not just law-abiding, but crimeless. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to highlight 214 all the way down to the end, 220. This whole piece gets highlighted from 214 all the way to the end, which is 220. Let's read it right now. Here's why you're going to see it. This is what you're going to see right now. This is your stolen legacy. That's why we got this book up here, Stolen Legacy. Here's what it is right here. Hip hop is what God is being and doing to us. This is our explanation of God, okay? Hip hop is what God is being and doing to us. Hip hop is what the I is being and doing to the I. I am hip hop means I am the law of my life. I create my own conditions and circumstances. With this knowledge, I am free. The meaning of the hip hop life is to perfect oneself and to do that which transforms one into God. The deification of man. The purpose of the hip hop life is to exercise the full potentials of our brains and minds so that we may reunite consciously with God. Communion with the divine. Self-creation is freedom. In fact, self-creation is the ultimate state of freedom. If you can become whatever you desire, then slavery, lost history, sickness, ignorance, and poverty are all the choices of an uninformed mind or a mind not informed. We read this in the teacher's manual where we said, you know, and look at it, if you could become whatever you desire, then slavery, lost history, sickness, ignorance, none of that exists for you if you could become the answer. And this is what hip hop teaches, to become the answer. You don't have to write it, read it, count it. Be it. Your hip-hop spiritual path begins with you learning how to create and guide thought, beginning with your own. You are what you think of repeatedly. Therefore, the hip-hop spiritual path begins with a faith in your own existence as hip-hoppers. It begins with a faith in our own existence as hip-hoppers. First, we must learn to honor ourselves and our hip-hop history. This is the beginning right here. We must learn to honor ourselves and our hip-hop history. We must truly honor hip-hop and respect ourselves as hip-hoppers. This peace, this love, and this unity are what create our hip-hop culture. This is our faith. We believe in the divinity of hip-hop. We believe in God's love for us as hip-hoppers. As Templars, we don't use hip-hop. We care for and cultivate it. Here, you must finally stop doubting yourself and realize your limitlessness. That's what Son One pointed out. Limitlessness within hip-hop. For when your inner truth is louder than your outer circumstances, you have learned to live and walk in your hip-hop spirit reality. This is what it means to be attuned, an attuned hip-hopper. It means to express God, the self-created. This is your stolen legacy, restored. There it is. Now, we have just completed our 16th overstanding. And it's so funny because I didn't really even plan to have this up here today. To be honest with you, but you see how God moves, right? You see how God moves. This is your stolen legacy restored. And by the way, none of this was written in conjunction with this. It just came together like this today, y'all. You can see we stumbling through with our internet connection and so on. We're just stumbling through. But we're not, actually. This is probably exactly how it was supposed to go down.
This is evidence.
This is evidence.
I have the evidence. I have the original, what everybody was supposed to see. I have it, and it did not include this.
No, it did not. No, it did not. We had another one. What Son One is pointing out, he said, I had already pre-recorded a lecture on this, our reading. I already pre-recorded one because I knew I was going to go do this concert and I might not, we didn't know nothing, okay? But it didn't work out like that. It worked out like this. And this is where we are. And so I'd like to welcome you to the Temple of Hip Hop. The Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop preservation ministry, archive, school, and society. We believe that hip hop is a divinely inspired global culture of peace and prosperity. We believe that to preserve hip hop, we have to preserve hip hoppers, and especially with a knowledge about ourselves, about themselves, about ourselves. Today's lesson, we dealt with the I. We dealt with identity. We dealt with what you identify with. What are you identical with? What are you the same as all the time? This will help you to find your identity and or strengthen your identity, the identity you already have. So this is it. I'm here with Minister G. Simone, here with Minister Son One, Pascal. Minister Pascal is somewhere, and I am KRS-ONE. This will conclude our read. Next week, we're going to get into the 17th overstanding, y'all, the Temple of Hip Hop. Can you enter? Can you enter the temple? Are you purified? Have you gotten rid of these groveling thoughts? Can you truly enter the temple of knowledge? That's what we're getting ready to enter next week. Get yourself prepared this week. We're going to start with the Temple of Hip Hop, 17th overstanding next week. Thanks for listening to us today. And thanks also for bearing with our internet situation. I hope this went straight through and without any other glitches. Okay, let's try to find a video or something. Maybe we'll try to get a video on or something. Maybe I don't know, whatever you want to throw on in that sense. But I'll just end off too with the idea also that when we start reading next week, when we start actually getting into next week, it's going to get intense now, because this is where the test comes out. This is where we're getting ready now to have our test. So you may now want to, really start going over your notes. Because I'm going to be testing our templates even when I see as well. So be prepared for a conversation with the teacher, or maybe you want to try to avoid that conversation if you not studied. But I intend for you to come forward and be studied, see what it is that we are pushing forward. Or when I say see, meaning your eye identifies with the teachings of the Temple of Hip Hop, we will see within the test. And remember, life is a test. So there it is. We're out, y'all. That's it. I'm off to Steel Pulse to do this concert. Wonderful. Let's go. The spirit